Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man!
All right, episode 61 of Shirt Show. We're talking with James and Donald from Edgemen Printing in Michigan. Let's go!
Look at this scruff you're putting on.
Well, you inspired me. I was like, he looks like a real man.
I just trimmed mine down today.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it was pretty bushy for Tennessee, and then I sweat so badly I wanted to shave it off when I got home.
Yeah, I mean, up in the Great White North, a beard is good. It keeps you warm and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
You go down south and you just want to be naked.
I sweat the most I've ever sweat in my life.
Do you think that there's a next level of hot now? You know how we had it's hot as shit, hot as fuck, hot as balls?
Hot as balls.
Is there another? Did you find a new level?
Hot as Tennessee should be in there somewhere.
That's right after hot as balls. Are we recording? I can't.
Hey there. I like your beard. I want to feel its tingles. I like that flavor saver you got there.
Could you hear it? I don't know. I tried.
No.
How do you row a canoe filled with puppies?
I don't know the answer.
With a doggy paddle? You tried not to laugh, didn't you? You looked down.
I always take my problems to Tommy. He'll figure it out.
How did I know it was going there?
Okay.
Just
more?
one. Just
I got
one.
more.
I think we're good. One each.
All right.
I think one.
No, my dad.
And
Hold
done.
on.
That's it.
I got so many more. My dad texted me before I left for Tennessee. And he was like, hey, I've got some jokes for you to break the ice with the people you're going to hang out with. I said, okay, let me hear them. And I knew they were going to be fucking super terrible. Because my dad's like king of dirty jokes. Why did little Johnny drop his ice cream?
I don't know. I hope it's not too dirty.
Because he got hit by a bus.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Oh, all right. Well, that's fine.
Yeah, that's not so bad.
Yeah, I want more dirty jokes, though.
Yeah, me too. I was just kidding. I hope that the dirtier, the better.
Yeah. Tell me about your week. What happened?
No. Nope. Okay, I will tell you one thing about my week. Fine. 3 doors shut.
You're botching us.
That's it.
Just
3 doors.
they all shut.
Yeah, no doors opened.
3 doors down. Your
Right.
favorite band?
3, actually, a couple doors.
Slam shut.
Yeah, they all slammed shut. Let's just leave it at that. What do you got?
Okay, cool. I went and hung out with some shops in Tennessee all week.
So when you got to Brant, and we're talking about graphic disorder, I feel like, yes, I want to see that shop because who wouldn't? But the first thing I'd want to do is go for a ride in the Porsche.
Everyone went for rides in the car but me.
What the fuck? Are you serious? Are you scared?
Yeah, I didn't want to. Because I get super car sick.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I told Brant, I was like, I would throw up on your dash. Like, I do not want to fucking throw up in your car.
Well, that seems like, I don't know. Like, that's, seeing that 18 color here. Porsche? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's close.
But yeah, it was just awesome to go hang out with him. And then we went and got barbecue. We almost Lady and the Tramp some sausage links.
What's that mean?
Didn't get that on video though. Lady and the Tramp where they like suck a piece of spaghetti together.
Oh.
Like the 2 dogs like slurp spaghetti. Yeah, we were gonna do that with like a smoked sausage.
Well, that would have just made me ultra jealous.
It would have broke the internet, so I didn't want to do it.
And you went home, like every night, you went home at like when the street lights came on and got a good night's rest and then woke up the next day. No? You stayed out.
The first couple nights we were on the other side of Tennessee, and then the last couple nights we were in Nashville. So those couple nights we went out, and I don't normally drink. I was just like, all right, well, I'm here. Let's like hang out and have some drinks. And it's funny because I don't know enough about alcohol to be like, what do I order? Like I had no idea what to order. So like Maggie and Logan were ordering for me, and they were like, what do you like? Do you like bitter or do you like fruity drinks? And I was like, I don't know, probably more towards fruity. So it's funny. They were like, all right, like, you should have a screwdriver then. Do you like orange juice? And I was like, yeah, sure. So it's just orange juice and vodka. Well, anyway, the funny thing is we were at Kid Rock's bar in Nashville, which to me seemed like the most fun out of all of them because it was like the most like crazy shit happening. And Maggie and Logan were at the bar, and like Maggie was in the way, and there was this dude in a suit next to me trying to get like to the bar, and he couldn't because they were in the way. So I like picked her up and moved her to the side. And then the dude was like, oh, thank you. Like I was waiting to get in there. He's like, what do you want to drink? And he just music's louder, or he leans into me. He's like, what do you want to drink? And I was like, fuck, like I instantly washed over me of like, fuck, I'm going to have to tell this guy what I want to drink. And I have no idea what I want. And I finally like leaned into him, and I was like, screwdriver. And he was like, he's like, no, seriously, what do you want to drink? So he gave me this look of disappointment. And I was just like, he's like, no, I know what she wants to drink. Like, what do you want to drink though? And
a screwdriver is like such a drink you have when you're like a junior in high school.
When you're like 16 years old.
Yeah. I
know. It was fun though. Like going down there was an experience, and it was fun just like seeing bands all night and like being out without being out for like a year and a half. Right. But I don't honestly care if I ever go back there. Like it was fun. Like it was whatever, but it's definitely like touristy part of town. Like we didn't do anything.
Don't say that. That's mean. Check, cut that out. Nashville's great. We love you, Nashville.
We love Nashville. Sorry. I'm just saying like there's so much probably more to Nashville than downtown, that strip area that's like super touristy. And I didn't really get to see any of it.
Sorry, there was a bird fucking with my car and still is. I wish I could turn this camera right now and show you these birds. They're back.
They're back?
Yeah.
How are they back?
Standing on the roof of my car right now. I'm going to take a picture of this.
Show me.
Text you. You fucking bird. Oh, you asshole. He flew away just now. Hold on. But I got one pic.
I was at a gas station because we had to drive from Brants to Nashville, which was like 4.5 hours. And a bird flies over me and shits all down my arm.
Yeah, I heard or I saw on your story or something like that.
Yeah, so a bird shits on my arm, and I'm like, dude, no fucking way. Like a bird just shit on me. It's gross as fuck. Like it's leaking through my shirt. I can feel it on my fucking body. Wet. It's so wet.
Oh no.
So a couple people are like, oh, like that's good luck. You should like play the lottery or whatever. So anyway, the bird shits on my shoulder, and I'm like, all right, I'll go play the lottery. So I take $1 and I go over to the lottery machine, and there's this lady working at this like Cinnabon thing, and she was just this like sweet Tennessee lady. And I was like, I bought a Lucky 7 ticket, and I go stand next to her, and I was like, hey, do you happen to have like a penny or something I can scratch it with? She gives me a penny, and I was like, all right, like make a deal with you. Like if I win, I'll split it with you. She was like, okay. And so I scratched off the first ticket, and I got 3 7s in a row. And then I scratched the win thing to see what it was, because I won like first thing. And it said like ticket. And I was like, what the fuck is ticket? So I take it to the counter, and he's like, oh, we'll give you $1 and you can go like get another ticket. So I was like, okay, cool. So I go to the machine, put another $1 in, do Lucky 7 again, scratch 3 7s in a row, another winner. I scratch the thing, and it says ticket. I'm like, what the fuck? So I go back to him, get another $1, go back to the machine, put it in, scratch, loser. I was like, do you imagine that story, getting shit on, winning 2 in a row, and then the final one is like you're like, $777 for life or something. But then I got to thinking what it was one of your birds shit on me and then hyped me up like I was going to win, and then I lost because it was one of your trained birds from Shirt Kong.
It sounds
just punking me.
That sounds pretty accurate.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's probably true.
Right.
They will mock you. They have the power. I thought I did, but they have the power.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, we're running out of time. We have 7 minutes. Give me 1 second and we should do our sponsors.
Where do you keep going?
All right. Easy Way is one of our sponsors. And do we want to say something about them? We do.
Yeah, I do. Easy Way. It's the easiest way. Stop dicking around and get the right stuff. Easy Way.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me. Like I was supposed
I'm talking to everybody listening. I saw your beautiful case. I wish it was glass and it had a light under it, though. Don't fucking touch. You should have wrote "Don't franking touch." Y'all ready for this? Frank. It's beautiful. Back in its case. I want to hear that lid.
Oh, that lid's so tight.
Yeah, well, Frank, it stands for Graphic Screen Fashion. .com.
Love you, Frank. I just got a whole huge batch of Frank screens the other day.
Oh, you finally got it? Yeah. That's when you thought you were. I got another one. Oh.
I ordered all those screens from Frank, and then it was the day after I got them. I was like, Frank, I fucked up. I should have ordered twice as many screens. So then I ordered what I ordered plus like another couple dozen.
Well, Frank, he does restretch screens. He does stretch screens. He does sell emulsion. He does sell, I don't know, lots of different stuff. So check him out.
Squeegees.
He's a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
Monarch has a high opacity mixing system that is extra high opacity. I said it twice.
They have a high opacity ink mixing system that is high opacity.
That's right. Because it's confusing if I say the extra, right? Because then you're like, oh, I want the extra high opacity one. No, it's just high opacity.
It's just a really good mixing system.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It sure is. So ink better, print better, be better.
Live Moss.
Monarch.
Talk about our homies at Action Engineering.
Yeah, Action Engineering. A little bit about them is that they are focused on manufacturing and developing production accessories for the textile printing world. Did you know that?
I did. I've been using Action for a long time. Squeegees, flood bars, pallets, hold down pallets, like a million different types of pallets.
Yeah, do you know what we have on order?
What'd you get?
A pallet rack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too. Well, there's two kinds. I don't know which kind you got, but
Did you get the wall one or the one that goes under the dryer?
Under the dryer on casters rolling.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
I wanted that. See, like over the years, I've seen all these people build these wood ones, and I'm like, man, I don't have time to build that shit. And then you got to figure out like specific sizing for like sleeve pallets to slide in or youth pallets to slide in or whatever. I was like, I don't want to mess with that. And then Action showed us that they have this one that just fits perfectly over the underside of an M&R pallet, and you can do random however you want to do it, and they roll perfectly under the dryer.
Pretty darn neat.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm stoked to get it.
So go check them out and use coupon code SHIRTSHOW at checkout. And do you know how much you're going to get? You know the discount? You know what it is?
150% off.
They're going to give.
They actually give you money. Yeah.
No, you messed up. You added a 0. It's just 15. If you mention Dylan, you get 150% off. You say Andy, right. You only get 15.
Nothing. You don't even. They ask you who's Andy.
That's right. So yeah.
Shirt Show, 15% off. 15% off on that stuff is amazing because you should have it anyway, regardless. In your shop, you should get all those things to make your life easier.
Well put.
Yeah.
Dylan, well put.
Thanks, guys.
All right, I'm going to take a tinkle.
You should probably leave it. Said you're going to take it. Don't take it with you. Yeah. That's gross.
Yeah,
leave it there.
You're right. I'm going to leave it in there.
Okay, cool. Let it marinate.
Today, we have Donald Radtke and James Lawson from Edgemen Printing. Do you think I said that right?
You said that beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Are you stretched? Stretched. Oh, yeah.
You ever do one of these where you put the arm across the body like that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, right?
That's so good.
Like that. Do the other one. I love that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Oxygenate that brain, that noggin of yours. That's not, it looks
Stretching
like you're
my
drinking.
tongue out. You don't stretch your tongue out? What's going on, guys?
Hanging out.
Yeah.
Are you guys in the shop today normally, or are you just there for this?
Just here.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll come in if like we've got a busy Monday, come in and I'll burn a bunch of frames or whatever. But we had our first live print event yesterday. And,
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Oh,
How'd it go?
great. We made a lot of contacts. It didn't go as well as we thought we did as far as selling merchandise, but it was a sneakers streetwear event.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody there has a brand. So everybody's coming up, oh, I got a brand. I'll take your card. And two of our bigger customers are the ones who put it on. And, they were just shuffling everybody over to us. They print all of our stuff. Go over there, go talk to them. They print all of our stuff. So
the idea was just to print like tote bags for the event on site and for them.
Right.
They don't allow people to bring their own bags. So if you can charge for a bag and have it printed on site, it's kind of cool. So that was their idea. And then we just kind of hung around for the contacts.
Right. And you hadn't done any live printing before, so you kind of just figured it all out as you went?
yeah, I mean, like I've seen other people do it. And I mean, it's simple, a little Vastex D100 or D1000 dryer, a little manual, 4-color one station.
So you had enough knowledge to figure it out. I'm just saying logistically, it was new for you.
Yeah, we set everything up here as if it was a live event before we took it out. We also loaded it all in our van and made sure we weren't going to be shit in the bed immediately. So
what would you do differently at your next event? Anything? What'd you learn?
Casters.
Casters on this little thing that I built I tried to make everything that we were using for the event double purposed. So I didn't want to have just
stuff everywhere.
Just a random shelf to hold squeegees and stuff like that. I wanted to make a cart to put all that stuff in to make it mobile.
Yeah.
And then, you get to the event, pull everything out, put it on top, try to utilize as much stuff as we had, make everything have a double purpose basically.
I've done the exact same thing. I built a cart and then I put in angle iron 90s and I had it to where I could slide, 6-8 screens in there and then a ball bearing roll thing in the bottom to put all the inks in, all the squeegees, all the tape, everything you needed. So that way in the trailer, all it was that cart, the press, top, and your totes of shirts. Yeah. So it was kind of all compact. Hey, that fan behind you, is that squeaking every time it turns?
It is. We can pull the pin on it.
It sounds like a bird.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I live with that every day. I don't even notice it anymore.
The funny thing is I kept sawing, hearing that noise, and I was like, I gotta figure out what that is. And then I was watching the fan between you guys, and every time it turned one way, it squeaked when it came back.
Yeah. Sorry.
I
don't even hear it.
WD-40.
Yeah, get a little.
That.
It's one of those things that I'll do it eventually.
I feel like if that was my office and that was happening, I would have already threw that through the wall.
Jimmy has a little bit more patience than most people. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
He's I just live with it now.
Yeah, I literally don't even notice it. I usually have music playing and stuff though too, so it's whatever. But yeah.
So you guys, I don't know what city you're in, but I was guessing you're in Detroit. Is that right?
Right outside of Detroit.
Yeah, just outside of Detroit, Clinton Township.
But you have
his favorite band is Kid Rock then?
No, it's Eminem actually.
An Eminem poster right there.
There is.
Oh, nice.
But it's actually more accurate to the two of us, so it would be the Insane Clown Posse.
Nice.
Sure.
Level 10 juggalos.
Yes. But yeah, we're just north of Detroit, 15 minutes away.
So the real question is, where is your Hatchet Man tattoo?
It's really, wait, is it this arm?
Yeah, it's that arm.
I don't know where it's
I knew
it's
it.
right there.
There it is.
Mine's on my leg where you can't see it, but we got them at the same time. It was kind of our, we got them like right when we started the shop as like shop tattoos.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you guys are down to party then.
Actually, not really.
We're both straight edge. Don't do anything.
We don't.
I drink coffee. That's as
You
far
just
as it
drink.
gets.
You just drink Faygo.
Yes.
Oh, you have the one that says Pop. We printed koozies.
We
that
printed
say
koozies
Faygo
that say
only.
Faygo only on them. But this one is a pop only one.
Yeah.
Dylan, do you have a shop tattoo?
Not yet. No. Do you have the Kong head, right?
Yeah, that one hurt the most.
Yeah, that spot sucks.
For me.
So bad boy spot right there.
No,
Yeah,
I was
spicy.
actually thinking about getting the Shirt Show globe with a T on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I would legit get our skeleton logo tattooed on us at this point.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
would.
become,
Our
our
staple
definite
logo.
shop logo. Yeah.
I've definitely thought about it before, but I just don't know what I would do. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to do just like upstate or something like text.
Yeah, you don't want
I
just
don't know what
text.
it would be.
Like you
Yeah.
want to have like an image, something that
Sure.
Right.
like
I feel like our logo forever has just been like the bold text, or like that's kind of what's carried over. And I don't want to do. I wouldn't know what to do unless I did like one of our older like eagles or something. But still, then it's just like, oh, I got this eagle.
no,
tattoo.
you got to do a
Sure.
Sasquatch or something.
Yeah, I got to do the Squatch head. I'll do the exact same tattoo Andy has, but as a Sasquatch head
Do
There
it.
you go.
in the same spot.
If you want to borrow our Edgemen
You don't
tattoos,
need
you can do
room
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just do a Hatchet Man tattoo, even though I've never listened to ICP ever.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't need to listen to it.
Most
You've
people
gone
don't
far enough. You're
understand.
fine.
Right. Okay, cool. So what else is new, guys? What's going on in your shop right now?
Busy.
Yeah, we've been.
I drove up to Flint yesterday or Friday, and we picked up a handful of screen racks just because our production floor is just. We have so much stuff in our. We've got 2 bays. We took over the second bay at the beginning of this year, and we just got a third auto set up over there with a dryer. But like our main production floor area is just fucking screens leaned up against the wall out a mile. Everybody's tripping over them, knocking them over, and it's just been too much. So I just went and bought a bunch of screen racks, and each press is dedicated. Like, that's your rack. Those are your jobs. This is your rack. Those are your jobs.
Yeah, we've been really everything's grown so quick, kind of in our eyes. So like we're learning a lot quick because of that. And like honestly, he's like listening to the show all the time, finding hacks and little things that have helped us a lot. And like, I'm just sitting up here talking to people all day, which sucks.
I mean, I'm the same way. Like, I learn on the fly, and I have been doing that since the garage. I mean, it's, I was never in a shop before this. Like I started, and I didn't start in a shop. In other words, everything I learned, I just learned, in my shop. And we've done the same thing. Like when we stack up, sometimes when we stack screens, because we don't have enough space, whenever I hear somebody's looking for a screen and you hear that sound of each frame banging against each other for like 50 times in a row, I'm just like, oh, we got to get another rack, because it's too much. It's hard because you have to get a second person to hold the pile as you're digging.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Once you get past a certain point. So yeah, I mean, screen racks make a big difference. You go so much faster.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And we've been really good about labeling things, especially our repeat jobs and all that. So we have them labeled and ready to go. So we can just pull them and be done with it. Yeah.
Fortunately, we both came from, it's kind of weird. Like we met through being in the punk hardcore scene, but also being screen printers and starting around the same time. That's how we met. And then
you guys were in the same area and
Not
really. I'm from like an hour away, but I had moved out to Philly, and we just kept in touch throughout the years when I was living in Philadelphia. And then when I moved back to Michigan, he hit me up and was like, I just started working at this big production shop. Do you know how to run an auto? Like, sort of, kind of, I can figure it out. Because I'd run a Freedom press. What was that? A Workhorse Freedom press.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only auto I'd ever run. Well, I'd worked at a place that screen printed on glassware. So, I mean, I knew how to run those autos, but no M&R, no nothing. Mm-hmm. So I ended up coming up for one day and helping out at the shop. And then the guy who owns that place is not a very good individual. Yeah. But
we didn't last long there. I learned a lot there, but
yeah, we learned a lot fast there, and it definitely carried over from.
So you guys both worked there?
Yeah, I worked there. He had moved back to Jackson.
And then you got Philly. Him the job there?
And I was like, we need help. Like, can you come help? And he was basically like driving an hour and a half, working, and then either staying at my house or just sleeping at the shop, and then working another day. Like,
I would work like 16 hour. I would work like 16 to 18 hour days, like no problem. And
because you wanted to, or because they had to have you work those hours?
Kind of both. Like, I love what I do. So like, and that place is like, the guy who owns that spot knows zero about screen printing.
Yeah.
And so I originally started coming up 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And he called me one night almost in tears because his production manager, like head printer, the person who knew everything, quit. He's like, I need you. And I told him what I wanted as far as compensation. And at the time I had a small 4-color one station set up in my house in Jackson. And I was like, look, man, I have my own clients. I'll come up and work for you and like live at your shop all week, basically, as long as I can run my jobs on your stuff, off clock, obviously, and supply my own stuff. And it was like a good year of me like clocking out almost every night and running jobs for myself and him. And one night the dude who owns that spot comes in tripping. Like he's like, you owe me all this money. You're using my equipment, blah, blah, blah. I've been watching you on the cameras. And I was like, yo, dude, like pump the brakes. Like this was part of the deal, guy. And after that, I told him, I was like, all right, man, I'm going to buy a better setup and I'm going to set it up over at Jimmy's house. And whenever I'm going to make more money, print my own shit, I ain't coming in that day. And he didn't like that. So I ended up finding on Craigslist or something, this garage shop who was selling out of everything. So went out, took a loan, bought everything, paid that loan off in like 5 or 6 months, very quick. And I mean, I was over at his house every single night. I went from working 16 to 18 hours for this dude to punching out at 8 hours and then going over to his house.
And him basically, like I bought my house in 2017. There was a whole like bar in the basement, but I don't drink or anything. So me and him just ripped it out and made it a screen printing shop.
That's awesome.
And just like, it busted ass down there for a while.
It got to the point where we're looking at our PayPal transactions and everything. And we're like, yo, we're going to get in trouble if like we don't do something legit.
So that's what that's
basically how Edgemen started.
Now, was that basement like a decent sized basement, or were you guys like crammed?
It was a very normal basement. And I also, all my bands practiced down there. That's where like all my laundry was. So it was a disaster, you know what I mean, with everything it was small.
Now the stuff you bought and put in there, was it like a normal dryer, or not like a big dryer?
No, it was a D100.
It's just a Vastex. Yeah.
Okay.
But my wife wasn't like super stoked on like me working full time every day, then coming home and like working with DJ. yeah. And like we have 2 dogs and like, actual life. So like we were like, we got to do something. And I ended up pulling the plug at my job first. I was like,
I was out on tour.
Long story. Yeah. He was on tour and my wife got rushed to the hospital and I ended up leaving work immediately, obviously, to go and like make sure everything was okay. And the next morning, because I knew my boss was always he was just not great. So when I got in, I got there like extra early to make sure I could make up with some stuff. And we were busy. It was like right before Christmas. Like I understood it was, it sucks for him to have me leave because I run a lot of stuff there, but like I had to. And he laid into me. And I was just like, dude, this is like not cool. Like my wife was in the hospital. Like,
I feel like that's one of those things where like if anybody here, no matter what, like if they just bolted out the door for no reason and then called me and was like, hey, right, like I'm going to the hospital because a loved one is in the hospital, I'd be like, oh, fuck, yeah, see it. Like, do you need a ride? Like, like, how can I help?
And like after I find out everything's okay, I'm like there like literally like 2.5 hours early, making sure like I get caught up, on my own time. And he laid into me and like I just after that happened, I like left for lunch and I was like, I'm gonna call my wife and tell her I'm quitting my job right now. And like I had nothing lined up. I was like, I can't do this. Like it's just not worth it. So, and we were, printing so much that I was like,
there's money somewhere.
Yeah, we're good. Like I'll figure it out. I've always been pretty crafty and doing whatever. I'll make.
Now, were you guys just printing stuff for other bands?
Like bands and printing? Friends' businesses, like a little bit of everything, but
mostly bands. Yeah, like we both like he's played in a million fucking bands and have toured all over the place. I've toured with a handful of bands, so like we've got connections all over where everybody's hitting us up, and I need this, I need that. We made it work.
Yeah.
So
and
how cool did it feel when you did quit? Or was it more of, oh, fuck, like, what am I going to do?
So,
or did you know?
No, I knew it was great. Like the best thing is I called my wife. She was like, quit, do what you got to do. So I was like, good. I got
that's the better feeling. Because you knew in your heart that you were like, fuck this place, I'm leaving. But you always have that like, oh, I feel nervous because I don't want to let someone down that I'm quitting.
Sure.
And she was like, quit. You were like, yes.
Straight up. Exactly that. Right. And I get back to work and the owner was gone. He was already left. He had already left. I was like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to quit without.
So did you like take a shit on his keyboard or something?
No. So I told everybody in the front office, which was only 2 other people. And, I was like, hey guys, like, this is it. I'm going to start gathering my stuff now. Like, but I'm going to wait for this guy to come back you can put a beep there. I'm going to wait for him to come back and, I'm just going to tell him face to face. Like, I don't care. And I walked up to him when he did come back and I just said, hey man, I appreciate everything I learned here, but I'm done with it starting today. And I like reached my hand out to shake his hand and he like was definitely taken back. And he's like, I don't shake the hands of quitters. And I was like, okay, all right. And then it was a big thing. Yeah. Well, then
you shit on his keyboard.
And
then I shit on his keyboard.
Okay, cool.
Man, so I've had so many, I've had people quit and I've had people quit with calling me. I've had people quit on like just texting me. I've had people quit with an email. That just happened last Monday. It was an email. She'd only been here a week. And that was a kind of not a 2-week notice. I mean, just abruptly, that's it. I'm not coming back, And I've had people quit and, just put in their 2 weeks face to face. And I like that the best. And I mean, that you were giving respect, even you didn't even like this guy.
Oh, I hated him.
Yeah, you hated him.
What was his name? What was his name? Scat?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that, and whenever somebody does, regardless of, there's only been one time where I had a confrontation with somebody that was more of a termination. They weren't. I guess maybe it was a little mutual, but otherwise, I mean, isn't it shitty to like say I don't shake the hand of quitters or just? I mean, you contributed, you busted ass, you worked there for I don't know how long, and then
about
he's
3
not
years,
gonna. That's a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he did everything for this guy. Artwork. He learned the DTG machine. He learned the plotters and cutters. He learned.
I did. I was hired in as the art director, which meant all around errand boy, like everything. And like, I got paid well. Like I wasn't a problem. But like, he expected you there early. He expected you there late. He wanted, like, there's nothing satisfied him. So it was like I'm only one person, man. Like I can't handle this. And, you know, the job I had before that, like I worked at for like almost 10 years, just short of 10 years. Like I'm not a quitter, you know, like I've always like adapted pretty well. And I was just like, this is not me.
I just feel like there's different types of bosses. There's like bosses that want to like lift people up and like make you part of the team or whatever. And then there's the bosses that want to like control you with fear because they don't want to, I don't know, they don't want you to have something on them, I guess. Like they want you to always be afraid of like being late or afraid of not doing a good job.
Sure.
And honestly, everything, like when we started this, we told each other, we're like, look, everything that happened at our old spot, like that's not happening here. Like
we have a saying called "Don't be a scat," and
I love it.
Like, yeah, like don't like what would he do?
Yeah, do the opposite.
Well, the truth of it is it's kind of like good. Like it sucks that you had to go through that, but it's really good that happened because you learned from what not to do. You know what I mean? Like absolutely. You definitely learned. I'm sure you learned a bunch of like ways to do business or ways to like run an art department or you with printing there or whatever. Like you guys learned how to do things, but like you also learned like like you could do these same things but with a different mentality and do it better. So I'm guessing 100%. That's what you guys are doing it now.
That's literally our goal. Like I said, we've
at this point, like I'd like to think, and I mean, it's kind of funny to think this because I know it's not actually true, but I'd like to think that we started our shop out of spite of his.
In a weird way, I
Whatever.
love thinking that.
It doesn't matter. It works.
Well, my mindset was like, we can do this ourselves. Like if we can get an auto, like this is not anything that's out of reach for us.
And you know what's funny is he calls me when I'm out I was gone. I was on tour. He calls me. He's like, yo, dude, I quit. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to work here if you're not working there. And I immediately called our supply guy at the time who he works for Multicraft. I called him. I said, Joe, do you know anybody selling an auto setup? He's like, actually, I do. And he got us in connections with that guy. The guy bought the press brand new in like 2004. It only had 60,000 impressions on it. He had a mini sprint dryer. And we're like, apparently the guy had a bunch of money. So he gave it to us for a song, basically.
It was crazy. Yeah. So we just ended up, we then went on a hunt for a building, you know, all that kind of stuff. Because obviously the basement is not going to handle that.
Yeah.
So where I worked for like almost 10 years, they offered screen printing, but it was like mom and pop shop, you know, but they had tons of space. So I was like, maybe we could like get the space, figure this out, you know, and, you know, they had like one of those crazy like 70s autos that like this whole screen unit went down and swiped like no raising of the plat. I don't even know what it would be called. I
think it was an old American.
It was a piece of junk. And like, I was like, just get rid of that. Let's take over the space and like, we'll, you know, help out with your screen printing.
I was going to say, did you work out a deal with them where
exactly
like you did the printing that they had and as long as they let you use the space?
Exactly. And we just basically took over the rent and everything too. So like, and the owner of that shop partnered in with us partially. So like it just worked out. Mm-hmm. And then we just started growing. And like, then we,
so is that where you're at now?
Yep. And we're just in like it's a giant complex with like garage doors. There's like 11 units in here. We had one. It was 4,000 square feet. And then we had an auto with an old dryer in there. And then we kind of just put the mini sprint to the side because there's already a dryer hooked up. And then we ended up buying another auto last year. And then we bought another one this year. And we just bought another one, this year. And we ended up getting the unit next door to us when the people moved out. And
so are you guys running 3 autos or you're saying you upgraded?
No, we're running 3 autos.
Yeah, we have 3 of them as of last week. We finally got the 3rd one hooked up.
Yeah.
And that one's basically going to be just like, oh, we're falling behind. Let me turn this on and get caught back up.
Right.
You know, we've got enough work to keep 2 autos busy, you know, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, you know. Yeah. but we do get a lot of rush jobs because a lot of our customers are event based. So like, oh, I got a festival that I'm doing. Like we just did like 3 rush jobs 2 weeks ago for a bunch of hip hop artists that were going to this event down in Miami called Rolling Loud. So like we put everything we were doing on pause because all the stuff we got that was rushed was like oversized print, 7 colors, front, 7 like back. It was a lot of work, but we got it done.
Nice. So when you got in there and got all those autos and everything, what did you guys do like employee wise? Did you start grabbing friends or did you hire?
So initially when we moved in, it was me and him, and then the screen printer who was here, like for working for the other shop, like we just kind of adapted him, like pulled him in. He now works for us, kind of thing. Like
you work for us now.
Yes,
I had to. The person who taught him how to screen print didn't really know how to screen print, so I had to like unlearn everything unteach him everything, then teach him the better way.
He's killer. He's great. He runs an auto. He never ran an auto before. You know, he's a great printer. He does a really good job. And then, we just started adapting friends, like slowly figuring out who wanted, to work here and like bringing people in just for part-time help. But now we have as of a while now, we've had like a set crew of people. We only had one person quit ever. And it was just because of COVID reasonings, essentially.
He didn't want to come back after we opened.
Yeah.
And
he's getting that free money.
Exactly. Yeah. So, which like realistically, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Let him ride that ride. And he was like mutual friends and stuff too. So it's like, it's fine.
So do you guys run single press operators or do you run in teams?
Yeah. Single press. Sometimes like if somebody's putzing around with nothing to do, I'll say, go pull for Nick or go pull for Jerry or whoever.
Yeah.
But as of right now, our main dryer isn't that big. Like you can run both autos at the same time, but like if you've got 2 people down there catching at the same time, there's going to be too many elbows bumping and everybody's going to be uncomfortable. So I think the way we're set up right now is good for what we're doing. But I'm in talks with one of our local guys about upgrading our 6-color gauntlet. He's got a customer who unfortunately had troubles with COVID. They have an 8-color Sportsman and a sprint dryer that we're trying to make happen. So I'd sell our 6-color gauntlet, bring in the 8-color Sportsman and set up the new dryer and get rid of the one we have now because it's like a 40-year-old American press, or dryer. Like it's a piece, but it works.
I know shops that run that. I mean, it works. It depends on what kind of, I guess, the volume or, like the piece count per job that comes through, if it makes sense or not. There's a shop that is 15 minutes from here that has 20 autos and 20 press operators, single press operators. Like they don't run in teams. You know what I mean? And at the end of the dryer, they call them inspectors, which I thought was interesting. We call it quality control, but they call them inspectors. But and I don't think they would ever, and that's what they've done it for 30 years. And I don't think they would ever change it over to run in teams. But for us, the reason why we run in teams was born out of, we only had 2 presses, 1 dryer, and we needed a 3rd. And so we needed to like be creative and like figure out how we could squeeze more jobs out every day. And that was in the setup teardown, mainly in the setup teardown. And we figured out a way that, well, if we do this in teams, it'll go faster. But I mean, it just depends on your piece count too, because there are times where we'll run 24 pieces and it just makes 0 sense for there to be a second person standing there.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, well, that the margin on that one wasn't too good, but
sure. Usually when we have a bigger run, we try and have a puller.
We'll call in somebody who needs some extra money and they'll pull or catch or whatever.
The last time I ran a decent sized job by myself where I loaded and offloaded, and I was sweating.
Oh yeah, not fun. I mean, at the place we came from, it was single press operators like 90% of the time. So like I was just used to it. And I know my guys back there, they would probably appreciate, a second person on some jobs. So, I'll go back there and like help out, on bigger jobs, stuff like that. But mostly I go back, I burn most of the frames. I just try to manage, hold back the production floor, make sure everybody's keeping busy, counting jobs. And, I'll just, somebody's got a question. 9 times out of 10, I have an answer. And if I don't have an answer, I call my buddy Tom. He's who I learned. He has a shop out in Northeast Philadelphia called Liberty Screen Printing, and it's just him. He's been doing it for like 25 years, just him. He's had like, one person at a time, work for him, then they quit. Another kid work for him, quit. And I learned so much from that dude. And like, we talk on the phone weekly. He'll call me and, what's going on at your shop? Hey, I got this new product. Have you tried it yet? No. How do you like it? Oh, I love it. You should try it. Or, hey, Tom, I'm having a problem with this. Like, what are your thoughts? Or he'll call me with questions and, I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability,
Yeah, we kind of have always done it where we have single press operators, but then it's like anything that's over like 50 to 100 pieces, they'll just grab somebody who's available in the shop.
Yeah. I'll try to go out.
I don't want them to do like 100 to 200 to 500 piece job by themselves.
Because like, it sucks.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that it sucks. It's just like it takes so much longer than it could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he's sitting there loading and unloading and like doing like a 8-second dwell or something to like take the time to load and unload, like let's set it at 4-second dwell and just grab somebody from the office who's just like bullshitting or emailing or, whatever.
Isn't it funny though, how it's like, it's all relative, because when I was printing on a manual and I got my first auto, I was just single press operator, I thought I was hauling fucking ass. I thought like, I didn't even think to have somebody else offload. I'm like, I'm going so much faster right now. Doesn't matter. I don't even care.
Yeah.
So it's weird how it all works. And now all of a sudden, having an auto, that's slow, like it's just,
you need 2 people to run that auto.
right.
Well, it's true. I mean, you think about it, really comes down to your schedule. Like if you're fucking slammed and you've got a bunch of jobs that could get done, or you're a couple weeks out, it's like, well, how do we get it to where we have a faster turnaround, or we're just getting more jobs out per day, not necessarily for a money standpoint, but for like a customer service standpoint.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like you want to make sure you're getting jobs out for your customers fast and as good as possible so that they want to come back. You don't want to always be like, oh, always takes 3 weeks or more to get your job done. It's like,
and it's also nice having, that third set of eyes on it,
somebody pulling,
somebody loading
at the end of the dryer is your quality control, but still somebody can.
Well, it's just like
sees a pinhole, right on press. It's a little quicker to adjust it.
Well, it's just like I was talking to Ryan the other day when he was here, and we were talking about the exact same thing of like, oh yeah, they grab people when they need to do larger orders, and he's like, yeah, that's fine, but like realistically, what you should have is that one other person. So like if I have 2 autos running, I should have that one extra guy who's just like running around, like the guy who's like, oh, your job's done. Okay, I'm going to help you take all these screens out. I'm going to put new screens in. I'm going to make sure all your inks and everything's like your job set up and ready to go, so that printer can just literally like be done with that job, set up the next one, go right to printing. Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily have to be there to be like, oh, I'm going to pull shirts for you guys like constantly all day. It should just be to help you set up and tear down and make that changeover faster. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now, is getting somebody to just like literally be the go-between of just
what I try
helping.
to do.
Yeah, that's been his, since he's not on the press, he's being the other hands,
right.
Which is.
And like one of our guys is colorblind, so I usually try to make most of his inks if he's not using a stock color off the shelf. But
that's something I've never heard before.
Yeah,
he's great though. He's the one kid that I had to reteach how to print, and like
you guys are doing a lot of these black and white prints. It's really weird.
Sometimes,
he's not fully colorblind, but he'll come up to me with like a bucket of brown ink and be like, "Oh, is this the right shade of pink?" And I'll be like, "No, hold on."
Yeah,
but he's great though.
Yeah, he knows. He
makes jokes
browns,
about
pinks,
it. So.
And greens is just
can't do.
So you said that you worked at a place for 10 years before Was that they was still printing? It was this you were doing the arts for them?
No, so it was actually more. They did screen printing, yes, but it was like 10% of the business. They did vinyl graphics, so they did like car graphics and wraps and police and fire, like all the stuff. So that was kind of my. I like screen printed in high school, and then I started working there. Started doing the vinyl graphics, but I was always like, I want to print those shirts, like I want to know what's going on with that.
That was your day job, but then you guys were both just like in bands.
Yeah, I played in bands. He's always like basically roadied for people. I've always just
traveled with bands,
and sold merch and stuff, and like that was kind of the me being in a band made me want to print my own shirts, which made me want to learn, even though my job was vinyl graphics. Right. And I was technically, I've never been a screen printer, like as a job. I've never had that job before. Right. Like when I worked there, I was, just an installer for graphics, and then was screen printing at night. I like basically learned by them saying, yeah, go try it out. And I just kind of figured it out. I wasn't great by any means, but it worked. It was when I met him, I learned way more than I ever, actually.
Right. But I like to kind of put the dots together to figure out like how you guys got where you are as far as like, because anybody can buy a press and figure out how to print, but it's like your markets into like how you're getting jobs. You know what I mean? Like if you were in bands, he was roadieing for bands.
That was the start of it.
Obviously, that's like the kick in the door to get going. Like,
yeah,
but
tell us about that. Like, did you, was that what you were dipping into? Is just everybody right off the bat?
Kind of, yeah. Like it was kind of a chain of events. Like started off with printing for personal, like my own bands, to like, oh, my buddy's his band needs shirts, and it slowly got out that we were printing and we were local. We were like, for the punks, like it was cheaper than going to some other shop and things like that. So like we really stuck to that for a while, but then like learning once I started doing, my friend started a business like hand making knives. So like, he's like, hey, I need some shirts. Okay, cool. Then he would give my number to somebody else, and slowly, like it honestly just was a train of like word of mouth. To then once I started, working at the, fast forward 8 years of that. And I worked at the production shop. I like started learning about marketing companies and doing more contract work. And like a lot of people, honestly, just like I met a lot of people in that world who liked dealing with me. So then, down the road, somebody was like, hey, I got a message on LinkedIn, of like, where did you go? You're not at your shop. Like what happened? And I was like, oh, I started this thing, blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, oh, well, we'd love to talk to you. And I was like, okay. And then slowly that snowball started going. And then,
it was, basically as soon as when Edgemen technically started in July of 2018, like we opened and orders were just coming in because we were doing them as side jobs before, and then we made it legit, And
and then like I've made friends with like, I'm a sneaker collector kind of guy, like local shoe stores, like the guys who just did the event that we live printed at. Honestly, they have given us some crazy connections, which I'm forever grateful because, they're big accounts now.
Hooked us up.
They did hook us up. And then also I had a friend down in Florida who also worked for another fulfillment warehouse and said, would you be willing to do this? So, I just basically was like, yeah. And then I'm like, we got to figure out how to do this.
We bought another embroidery machine just off of that one account.
Yeah. Because we do like some pretty big YouTubers, like embroidery. And that was just from a buddy who had mutual friends who was like, hey, our fulfillment warehouse, like we're based out of in Florida, but like our fulfillment is actually in Michigan. Like it'd be quick for you to ship it there. Like then you'd have more time to, produce it.
Right.
Yeah, let's go for it. And it just kind of kept going.
That's what I always think is funny is like people are always like, how do these, like, it's that question of a smaller shop to always be like, oh, how do I get these accounts or how do I get bigger business and all this other stuff? And it's always like just some dude that knows some dude. You know what I mean? It's like
you just got to make friends everywhere.
Honestly, I think that's my strong point. Like we're very opposite, like in terms of real life.
He's good cop, I'm bad cop.
He like straight up, like he's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. And I'm like, I'll talk to everybody.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to be at the back of the shop. I'll deal with the customers, you know? And I'm like,
That's
yeah,
how
let's
I
do
am
it.
too.
Like, that's kind of like our dynamic. So I'm the face when it comes to, you know, people coming in on what they want. I'm always been a friendly person. Like, I don't know. I just,
right.
like,
No, I mean, it's true though. It's like a strong suit for sure. Like I'm the same way. Like I feel like I can talk to just about anybody. Like I can have a conversation. It usually goes dark because that's just my personality is I just end up talking about things that are not PC, but
that's fine. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, I can always like crack a joke with somebody or talk to somebody about something.
Absolutely,
but like, there's people here too, that like, as soon as a customer comes to the door, they immediately hide in their office. They're just like, I want to not be seen. I don't want to talk to anybody. It's just like,
yeah. And we've adapted a pretty good group here. Like everybody's a little different. Like everybody is just like pretty down to earth, and we try and keep it that way. You know,
we try to keep a good shop culture. Like there's some people that have, you know, there's a pretty big age gap in our, you know, like everybody who works in the screen printing department, we're all around the same age, but our embroidery lady, she's a bit older, so she doesn't, you know, get most of the stuff that we're into, but she loves my dog that I bring every day. So like that's like the middle ground for everybody is the dog.
Yeah.
the glue that keeps everyone together.
You know
is your
what's-
dog.
He really is. Everybody,
That's so true,
you're
though.
having a bad day, fucking Hank will come around and your day is just instantly better.
It's awesome.
We need a shop. We almost had a shop cat, but
Yeah.
Hank,
Yeah. Hank's here right now.
Boy.
I feel
We'll
like-
have to introduce you.
I feel like the problem with a shop cat is it would just be constantly knocking inks off of tables.
Oh yeah. Cats can
Like
climb
cat would
on
just like
everything.
push it over.
Although
I hate
Hank,
cats.
we kind of had to stop if we had a box open on the ground or something. We had to like
You'd lay
make
in
sure that he would just jump up. Here he is.
tell me you're
Beef
going to have
town.
a bad day with this thing
Yeah.
walking around.
Yeah, he's here every day. So
It's just a meatball.
yeah,
69 pounds.
Hank the Tank.
You
So,
can't
yeah,
get any
he's-
heavier or lighter, Frank or
Yeah.
Hank.
Yeah, he definitely like is like the celebrity.
morale
We've had multiple customers like, is the dog here? Like
We've
Yeah.
had
Make
customers,
you gotta make him the
customers
mascot, make
bring
him the
their
leader.
husbands and wives
Yeah.
and boyfriends and girlfriends. They're like, I showed them the picture of the dog and they said they had to meet him.
yeah. So yeah, we've made shirts with him on it, things like that. He's definitely
Our mascot.
he's our mascot. I also have a bulldog, so like we have one shirt that has both of our bulldogs like looking really tough. Like that we had a friend draw, so we've made him a mascot. It's
That's awesome.
a good one, yeah.
So do you guys have any like location pluses or minuses? Like, are you doing a bunch of local stuff where you guys are just out of Detroit? Like, are you getting Detroit business?
Yes. Like we do, I would say we do, one of our biggest customers is like one of the bigger Detroit brands out there. And then we just landed another one not too long ago who is like, speaking of Kid Rock, but we just landed an account with them and we just started doing our first couple orders for his brand, which has been around since like the 90s.
Yeah. And we also do a ton of, we ship every day, like, especially bands, punk and hardcore bands. We ship all over the US and Canada. So we have like two customers that are pretty regular in Canada,
Right.
but then, a lot of East Coast stuff. Honestly, a good mix of everywhere.
We get contract work too. We
Yeah.
have like a decent mix of like 60-40, like 60% are our own customers, 40% are contract. So it's like, I feel like a nice mix of like, we have a lull in our own customers. Well, there's a shit ton of contract work, to
Right.
make up for that. So
Now, what's the contract work like? Is it in the same kind of market? Like, are you doing bands?
Oh,
or
no,
is it
it's
like is
Joe
it like
Schmo's Plumbing and
right?
and there's like breweries and there's
construction and all that stuff.
Yeah, like it's kind of a pretty
weird
big mix of stuff. A lot of events for local stadiums and things like that.
I just didn't know if you got mixed up with the guys that are doing like, there's always that middleman agency that just does like touring bands. You know what I mean? Like, Kansas is coming through town and they, you're on the East Coast, like do stuff for them. I didn't know if you were in that market yet or not, or trying to. No.
Eventually we would love to. Yes. Yeah. We love doing touring band merch and stuff like that. Cause like, that's where I come from. That's, that's right. Like, it's just, I like that vibe of everything. And I know you've talked about it on other podcasts of like, I get to do work for them. And they were like a customer, which I enjoy. I get a little.
And then you find out they're dicks.
Yeah. I haven't had that happen yet, luckily. But I definitely do like swerve towards the bands and the punk and hardcore route.
Well, you should. That's what you're into.
Yeah, exactly. So like, we have some customers that are, like I said, very well off, doing great. We're printing a ton for them. It's just like, no, nothing I would ever.
Right.
That's just not my bag.
Two things my thoughts are on is if I ever start a plumbing company, I'm calling it Joe Schmo's.
You can. That's my plumbing company.
And the second thing is that I think the secret sauce is that, just do good work, have somebody that is good, like a good with people, because that seems like your guys, the reason why you're successful is that, you're each good at something that the other's not. And
absolutely. That's
you make a good.
If he was gone, I'd be lost.
Vice versa. I don't know how to use a computer. Like I'm the one who watches you guys or listens to you guys, not really watch. But when you guys messaged us on Instagram, he was like, "Hey, did you see the Instagram message?" I said, "No." And he was like, "Do you want to do it together?" And I was like, I can't do it because I don't know how to fucking use a computer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, going back to the band thing is just kind of like, I feel like, again, we've talked about this before, but it's kind of like, the lingo, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Like if a band comes to you young or old, what they're needing roughly, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Logistics and like, okay, well, you have a table and at this kind of size show, if this band's playing, they're going to tell you, okay, we're going to have this corner and we're going to have 20 items of merch, but we're only going to allow these bands to have like 5 items of merch. Sure. And you can, talk them through that whole thing. Absolutely. So it's nice for you to know that. It's different if somebody was like, okay, we're it could be anything. It could be totally another market of like certain events or something that like ballerinas or something. You wouldn't know the lingo. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You might know the lingo. I'm not judging. I'm just saying like, you wouldn't know how to sell them. You know what I mean? Sure. You wouldn't know how to talk to them. And sure. it shouldn't be about the sale. It should be about just like, what can I do for you? Like, how can I help you? And then obviously you make money off of helping them, but it shouldn't be like you're trying to weasel your way in. It's just like, hey, you're a band. I fucking love that band. Or I love, the kind of music that you're into. Like, I want to be able to help you out. I want to be that guy that helps you.
Like, that's literally exactly it. Like, I just like, I like talking to people, and especially if we're into the same interests and whatnot, that it
just makes the conversation so much easiher. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And it's just, exactly. And even with our contract customers where we are printing Joe Schmo plumbing, like there's a lot of those, they're just salesmen essentially that are dealing with me. But I found that they really attach themselves to me because, I find a way to connect, even though they have their numbers, what exactly they want. But like, I feel like I have the capability of like, understanding.
Have you ever had one of those contractors come out to your shop and show them like what a flash is, for example, You know,
I have a real funny story about something related to this.
Yeah, we've had some definite people who like are selling shirts who don't know
what the fuck
they're doing.
At the shop that we come from, I'd never messed around with discharge ink before, like at all. And the guy who owns that spot, he'll come in for like an hour a day, and then he goes and plays golf the rest of the day. And truck pulls up, I get on the forklift, and I'm unloading pallets of shirts. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, I don't know what this, like, nobody said we had this big order coming in. Had no idea.
Everything was a surprise at that shop.
So I'm unloading pallets of shirts, lining them up in the shop, and he calls me, and he's like, oh, it's this rush order. The lady's coming in today to approve it on press. And I was like, okay, sweet. What is it? He's like, oh, I'm printing the artwork out now. So, okay. So he gives me base film and the top color. I go and burn the screens, and I'm setting the job up, and the guy who owns the spot pulls up. He's like, that's going to be discharge ink, right? And I was like, nobody said anything about discharge ink to me. And I was like, you don't even have it here. And if you did, it's probably expired. And so he's like tripping out, like, what the hell, blah, blah, blah. You know, you didn't order this, you didn't order that.
So he sold it on buzzwords.
Yes.
Oh, well, knew nothing about it.
The contract person sold it on buzzwords, because I opened up the first box of shirts and they're all tri-blend. There was like 5,000 shirts tri-blend. And this fucking lady comes in. She's talking to me like I'm a fucking idiot. She's talking to me like I don't know what I'm talking about. She's like, I've been doing this for 12 years, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, yeah, but like you can't discharge on tri-blend. Like it's not going to work. And it was like a super vibrant, bright green. And like we're going at it. We're going at it for like 30 minutes. And the guy who owns the shop is just sitting there with his fucking hands in his pocket. Like, oh yeah, I told this lady that we could do it. And she told her customer that we could do it, or that they could do it, when in reality we can't do it. And
we've definitely had the customers who just sell jobs and
they don't know what they're talking about.
They're just expect it to just like it's done.
Pretty much everything you just said is the entire reason why I don't want to do contract work.
So
I mean, the few contract people we have fucking rock.
Yeah, we're good now. Like
they will hit us.
You got to weed the people out that like,
right.
If I get an email and I'm like, oh, her, you know, or him, like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, we kind of just like,
we'll fire them, you know, we'll let them go. Say
like make it known, just like, hey, this isn't worth our time, you know?
Yeah. There's definitely contractors out there that you can form relationships with that are great to work with. You know, they give you POs, they know what they're talking about. And sometimes they don't. They call and ask a question, and that's kind of why I asked, because it just happened. It was either, you know, it was in the past couple of weeks where I was on a phone call with somebody for maybe a half hour, and they got somebody speakered in too. And we were trying to figure out how to print an order. You know, I was trying to explain to them why it wouldn't work. Sort of like the same situation you're in. It wasn't a discharge, but it was just complicated, you know. And so I said to them both, like, look, next time you're in the area, just stop in. I'll take you back to the presses and we'll go over a couple of things, because it's going to make so much more sense for you, you know, and also even when you go to sell it, you know, you'll be able to at least speak the language. It's just so much easier. And we did the same thing. I did it on Friday with our 2 new customer service specialists, where I said, look, and I thought it was only going to be an hour, but I wanted to give them just a screen printing 101 on the press, where they actually dig out ink out of a bucket, put in a screen, you know, touch a press and watch it, load a shirt, you know, because you see people load shirts. And when they started, the first time they loaded a shirt, they were like, oh shit, you know, like, how do you get it? It's hard. Right. And so it was really good. And I decided that we got to do this like once a month or something, at least with everybody, like a cross training thing, you know?
That's a great
idea. And it was fun too. Like it was really fun for me.
Yeah, just get to show let's get your hands dirty for a minute, put you in our shoes, and like, so make you understand. Like that's a great idea, you know. But we have weeded out a lot of our terrible contract. Like we didn't have many of them, but like there is a handful that
the ones we have now rock, and I don't think I want any more or any less. But what's great about, you know, we don't have a sales team. Like it's literally just him. And like we both have Instagram access, and that's how we get a lot of customers is via Instagram. and everybody, just gets directed to his email, and like, he knows what he's talking about. Like, and if he ever has a question on anything, hey, can you come up here and look at this? Or, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? And, we'll powwow on it and be like, no, we can't do it that way, but we'll try to do it this way and see, what the customer thinks. And like, he speaks the screen printing language. So, he doesn't have to go back there and load the shirt and know, like,
I mean, I've definitely printed manual a ton, in my days, never as an actual job, but like, with my basement press, learning and all that stuff. But honestly, I've never ran an auto in my life. I've never touched it. I mean, very little. Technically I have, but if he went, dude, go set up a job, I'm swamped, my hands are broken, like, I need you to do this, I'd be like, sorry.
Well, neither is Dylan. He doesn't run a press.
But you speak the language, so like, you're not like the contract guys.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're immersed in it every single day for like years, like it's also my job as the owner to like educate myself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or educate not necessarily myself, but educate the shop. So like, absolutely, new techniques come out or new things come out. Like, I will buy the things and we will do the tests. Like, I'm there for everything.
That's
you know what I mean?
It's
like,
absolutely me. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if this, say, for example, this new squeegee comes out or this new ink comes out or whatever, I'm like, okay, let's order the test shirts. Let's get the squeegees. Let's go out. We'll do the test. I will be there with you. We're making decisions. We're finding out what works best. And then when we find out what works best, we improve our shop, and then they know what they're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I go back to my office and I do my part of the business. You know what I mean? Like, I'm there for every step of the way for everything other than the daily, like, we're just making things. You know what I mean? Like, I have my own focus in here, but I know a lot about everything because I'm the one that's constantly like figuring shit out and then showing it to everybody else. Sure. So I feel like you don't have to be on the press all day long to know anything and everything about screen printing. You just need to constantly be educating yourself and teaching yourself things.
Yeah, being a hands-on owner though is what makes you successful. It contributes to your success for sure.
Yeah, like if I was that guy, like you were saying, I was like, okay, I own a screen printing shop, and technically, when a job comes in, it can get printed and go out the door. But I just want to go play golf all day. Like, I feel like it's not gonna work because you're not in it enough to know when things need improving or when things need something. Yes. You know what I mean? Like,
that dude's presses are broken. Technically, I still work there. I'll go there at night sometimes, and he gives me dumb money, and I'll run jobs. But
it's even like here, like if something happens on press that's out of the norm, like something's happening or they're having issues with a print, they'll still come get me, and I'll come out and I'll help them figure it out. Yeah, even though I'm not printing all day long, I have enough to know, like, okay, I've seen this or I've heard this, or I know who to call, or I know who to help figure it out.
That's the same.
I feel like I learned so much of using the crappiest ink, using the crappiest screens, working on broken machines. Like, I've learned so much that, like, anytime my guys have a problem here and they come to me, like 9 times out of 10, I know the answer because I was in the trenches with the crappy ink, with the crappy screens, with the dull squeegees, with, like, I know I can look at a print and be like, okay, that was a dull squeegee. That's a sharp squeegee. Like, you need to, I learned on all this crappy stuff. And now that, like, I'm not settling for anything less, like, almost all of our screens are hydro mesh now. Like, I got a squeegee sharpener. I try to sharpen our squeegees, when they need it, or replace them when needed. I'm buying the best of ink that I, can get. I'm not buying the cheapest. I'm not buying the,
We try and make it easier for our employees.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Isn't necessarily to do something a specific way. You're trying to get things efficient, and you're trying to make things as hassle-free for the employees as possible, because the less hassles they have, or the less whatever, is the less issues and mistakes you're going to have on your prints.
Yeah.
I mean, like me, I invest in like the best ink, best squeegees, best press, best everything I can do, because I want the best product to come out of the end of the dryer, and I want less times for them to come to my door and be like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. It's like, if I give them the best of everything, there should be no excuses. You know what I mean? There should be like, I literally have the best tools to do this job. So why are we still having issues? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I want to make sure that every job that goes out the door is the best quality it can be, and that everybody who's out there printing just can easily do that. You know what I mean? They can grab these tools and go to printing. But like I said, you can't just settle either. Like, you can't be like, okay, at the time I found the best of whatever it is, I'm just going to do that forever. Like, I'm just going to settle here and do that for like 15, 20 years. That's like,
I've met so many old heads that are like, it's not broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. I get it to a point, but it's like,
screen printing is fashion. Fashion changes every year.
Yeah.
So like, nobody wants a 3-hit white through a 110 on a fucking tri-blend t-shirt. Like, nobody wants that. But if that's the way you've been doing it for the past 25, 30 years, like, how are you going to be selling tri-blend t-shirts then?
Mm-hmm. It's the same. It's just like they're constantly making new inks. They're constantly making new technologies, new presses, new everything.
Changes every year, it seems.
That's why I feel like you need to set aside a certain amount of time, even if it's in your slow season, if it's after work with you and a press operator or whatever. It should just be, let's do some R&D. Like, let's just figure this new thing out. Even if it's something that you're like I get stuff all the time that I'm just curious on. Like, it's not something I'm practically going to be like, I want to put it into our daily whatever. It's like that. Someone sent me that, or it was Scott who sent me the beveled squeegee. But we talked about it with Wingfoot, with like the to a point squeegee.
Did you try that?
I haven't yet, and it's sitting right there in front of me. I'm looking at it, and I want to try it this week. But like, it's like, okay, let's run it perfectly straight up and down. Let's run it at like 40 pressure. Like, I don't know if we would use it for every job, but I want to learn it because I want to know when I can apply it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if we're doing a specific job that has like this detail or whatever, I know in my mind now I have another tool in my tool belt to be like, well, actually, this wouldn't apply for every job, but this double bevel squeegee might work perfect for this job. And it's like, you might only use it once a year, but now you know how to use it. You know what I mean? Or it's like a chemical or whatever. It's all these little tips and tricks that you constantly just like adding to your arsenal of like, I know when to use this now.
And that's like one thing that I would credit my old boss, Tom from Philly, is like, he's been doing it forever, but he's like not stuck in his ways. He'll go to the AC trade show and he'll get every free sample possible. He's calling manufacturers, he's calling suppliers. And I carried that over. Anytime I have a problem, I'll call him first. And if he doesn't have an answer for me or a solution, I'm calling manufacturers, I'm calling suppliers, I'm calling whoever to help me figure this, out. And like, we're just trying to bring new tools into the shop to make everybody's job better. Like, we just had the guy John from the CTS company. It's the wax one. How do you say it?
Doubt.
Yeah. He was just here. They're local, and that's like a big plus for us. We're going to go down Friday, and he's going to give us the whole shebang. We're sending him artwork and everything. We're bringing screens down.
Andy can talk to you about that. He just went through that whole process.
Yeah.
What are you using now?
As far as for screens?
Yeah, I mean, are you film? Okay.
Film and glass exposure unit.
There's a film printer right here.
So let's dive into it a little bit. Like, what are you just trying to get into CTS now instead of film?
Yeah.
Or are you looking at wax for a certain reason over inkjet?
Well, I mean, from this show, for one, they're local. Two, from this show, it sounds like a lot of people seem to dig the wax. The guy, was his name Michael at ML Screen Printing.
Good dude.
We've been talking back and forth on Instagram for the past week or so about, just shop. And he's like, dude, I've been pumping out, I think he said like 4 more jobs a day per press because of it.
Yeah.
Because you can use the tri-lock. And like, that's like, we've gotten to the point, like, we do so many sim process 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 color jobs that it's just like, fuck, man, like sitting there with registration marks for 7 screens is a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if we could utilize the tri-lock, like we tried the Tri-Lock with the carrier sheets and all that bullshit, but it don't fucking work.
It does.
It does.
I will argue it does work. It's just more work. It's hard
like that's the thing is like for the amount of time I'm spending in the dark room, taping carrier sheets, doing all this, all that stuff. Like,
I agree with you.
I could have just burned all the screens, and like half the job would be half set up by now.
Yeah. But I feel like some of that might be your anger issues.
Yeah, maybe.
I can almost guarantee that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we don't want to.
Well, it's like for here, like honestly, the art department. Well, Brian, who's in the art department, like he's very meticulous and very anal about everything, and that's why it worked really well for him, is because he was the one taping them to the carrier sheets, like looking through a loop and making sure they're all lined up.
Oh, nicely. I tried it with the loop,
and I'm just saying, like it's in him to do that step.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like he had the patience to go through and like line them up and make sure you're still going to have human error because you're fucking taping things to things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you when you put them on the exposure unit, you're still having issues with film and light undercutting and like all these other things. And it's like, how good of a dot can you get because you're getting undercutting? But then I promise you, when you go to CTS, all that goes away. You don't need that meticulous person. You just need somebody who can do SEPs that sends it to, whatever unit you're getting. And then it's printing it directly on the screen. So you're having no light undercutting issues. You're having no registration issues. You're not having tape issues. You're not storing film or printing film or ink in your printer. Or if your printer's a piece of shit, or if you don't print with it enough.
Or if you're on the end of your roll of film.
All those things go out the window. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be a little less. It's kind of nice because like in the office here, I deal with all the people, but I also do all the separations. I do 90% of the art. So it's a little bit of a stress relief off of me. Like I still do my SEPs, but they can just be sent. They can handle printing, direct on the screen. I'm not printing them on my inkjet behind me and cutting them all up and making packets and storing all the films everywhere. And like, to me, I'm like, man, that right there is like a load off of me, which makes me focus more on, selling jobs or, dealing with other things. It's just like a little bit more. And then the setup for them is, I mean, obviously night and day. We have a Tri-Lock. We have,
got like 3 of them.
Yeah. So like, it just makes sense. We're going to be able to set up so much faster. It's just, like I said, he already came here and looked in our dark room. We have the room for it. We went over the shop with him, talked everything. So now he's like, well, let's burn some screens. We're going to set it up and send it to him. And we get to go there Friday and kind of give it a real test,
I think you got 2 things going for you with that is the fact that they're local and you can easily grab somebody. I feel like with any piece of equipment like that, the best thing you can get, no matter what piece of equipment it is the customer service, like the support. Like literally, you could buy the best piece of equipment that I know what necessarily the best one is, but if you were like, oh, this is the best one, but if your service sucks and you can't ever get like troubleshooting help or it fixed, then it's not the best. Like it's not going to work good for you. If the dude's in your backyard and you're like, hey, fuckface, can you get over here and help me fix this? Then I mean, you don't have to call him fuckface. You can call him something nicer.
I'll call him John.
Yeah. Right. You can call him John. When he could come over and help you fix it, then
Joe Schmo.
That's worth right. That's worth its weight in gold because you know that you can get it fixed.
Yeah, he even said he's like one of the things like we're going to be able to give you right now. It's our shop to your shop is like 22 minutes. He goes, my house from your shop is 12 minutes. He's like, because I live in between. So he lives literally like a mile from where I do, and I'm just like, I mean, you can't really go wrong with service like that. Somebody who we're like, oh shit, we really can't figure this out. Okay, I'll be there in a half an hour. Like that's would be great. Hopefully we don't have to do that all the time, but it's nice to know that we have that option.
Have you had any issues with yours, Andy?
No. So we installed ours over between Christmas and New Year's, and Mark came, he flew here and installed it. I know that you can do a remote install. That's possible with you guys. They're right there. So they're going to be able to install it. We've had a couple of issues where we've had to, get Mark on the phone. So I have never dealt with John. I dealt with Mark. And there is no better customer service that I've ever experienced in any equipment manufacturer in my 20 years I've been doing this. There's no better, that's for sure. I think Mark, if he answers the phone on like the third ring, something's wrong. It's usually either the first or the second. But all of it is pretty basic stuff, just, hey, it did this, what's going on? And he'll say, oh, what you want to do is your wax is dried up. You're going to have to melt it on this part or whatever. And so you have to empty, there's like an extra, what is it called? Like, it's a catch, when it does a cleaning.
Yeah.
And they're sort of like with the inkjet printer, it'll do a cleaning sometimes. And so if that fills up, then you have to empty it. But emptying that is, the wax hardens. And so you have to heat it up, And so, I mean, there's just little things. There's nothing major. They've never been back. I've never had to buy a replacement part or anything like that yet. I've just bought wax. Knock on wood.
Sweet.
But
does the wax last a while? That was one question I had. Like,
how much do you get out of a cartridge or however they give it to you?
Yeah, it's just it looks like a bar of soap almost. It's just a block or a brick, I guess. And they're in little packets, and we buy, I think, a 10-pack at a time. How many screens do we get? I don't know. I'd have to go back. We keep a dry erase on high scores and screens and stuff like that. We got more out of the eye image. It had it's
like 1,500 screens per bottle, roughly.
A pint. I think it's a pint out of the eye image. So we got more out of the wax is costing us a little bit more, but that doesn't, and the machine costs a little bit more, but everything else for our shop is better.
See, there's a lot of things like there's differences between both. And like Andy had the same eye image I have before he had the wax, and he made changes for, other reasons to wax for what he was doing. But it's like, it's the nerd in us. Like they all work totally fine. They all work again, it's that thing of like customer doesn't necessarily know the difference. It's just us looking at things being like, I can make this better. I can make this better. You know what I mean? It's like, you could print the shittiest print. We had this discussion the other day when I was out, and it was like, it frustrates me when I walk into a shop that's just like a super fucking shithole. You know what I mean? Like super dirty. They don't give a fuck about screens. They're just like, everything they're doing is just like dirty and gross, and they're doing the whole thing. Not to say I went into a shop like that, but like, if that guy is still selling jobs and still printing shirts for people, and I'm over here fucking looking like with a microscope on my screens to make sure I have like perfect dots and like the perfect ink and the perfect laydown and all this other stuff, it's like, realistically, how much does the customer care? You know what I mean? I know certain people care differently, but I'm just saying, if that dude's still selling shirts, like obviously it's the difference isn't as extreme as us as printers want it to be.
Sure.
But you got to also look at what he's doing compared to what you're doing.
Right. No, I know.
Sure
I'm just saying that like us looking into every little detail is important to us. And we want to strive to have the best at all times. But that's what I'm saying is like, for me now, I'm looking at like the thing I've been nerding out on over the past couple of months has just been like really dialing in darkroom stuff. So that's why I'm looking at, okay, I've got inkjet, but I've heard wax is giving it a little better of a dot. And to me, I'm like, fuck, do I get a wax unit? But I'm like, I don't know if I want to get a wax unit because I'm really holding off for laser because I want to have perfect dots. So now I'm just like bouncing around my head of like, man, what do I do? But again, I look at it like in the office of like it being a busy day. I'm like, this inkjet's still doing amazing work. And when we went from film to doing the inkjet, it was a huge difference. And I've told the story a couple of times, but it's like we did this image of this girl's face. It was all halftone dots, and we thought it was flawless with film. And then we had to do a reprint like a week later after we got the eye image. And then we did that same print, and we got so much more definition and detail out of that same exact print with the same exact artwork that I was like, holy fuck, like, why did we not have this so much sooner?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It's like, it's still amazing.
Yeah.
It's just, you need to do what works best for you. Like if, you had somebody who was doing inkjet in your backyard, I'd be like, oh, you should do inkjet just because of the service, the support. But I mean, there's plus and minuses to everything. I feel like the eye image might print faster Is that true, Randy? Does it print a little bit faster than the wax?
The one I had, the iMage S, that's what I had, right? Yeah, the S
single head.
Single head is
About
the
the
wax is about the same. I think wax is slightly faster. It's where the iMage, whatever it's
ST.
called. Yeah, that's faster. It has,
2 print heads.
2 print heads. But I don't know that that's better because 2 print heads means you have to calibrate, and which means your dot might not be so precise. I love the wax. I know that there's a laser that exists out there too. I think it comes down to budget sometimes too. I mean,
Those things are mad expensive.
Yeah.
They are mad expensive.
Yeah.
And is it better? I'm not really sure because I think for everyday work it may be, but when you're talking detail, I've also heard about the light of the laser giving you the same issues that like an undercutting issue. You know what I mean? Halination, I think it's called. I don't know if the right word, if I'm saying it right, but it's a light, it's a laser. And if it spreads, if the light hits the screen and it spreads slightly on a small dot, then that's
I feel like it's the reason why I'm saying as I'm waiting is because it's one of those things where I'm waiting until they kind of perfect that and it's like widely used. Like now there's a couple places that are using it and it's starting to get introduced more. And I think even the unit I was looking at like can't do 2536 screens. It can only do 2331 screens. And it's like we use both. So it's like I can't use it if it doesn't do both size screens. It's just, to me, I was looking at it as we're getting more, and we've always kind of been into a lot of like sim process prints and like 12 color prints and 14, whatever. And it's like, I'm trying to perfect the screen as best as I can so that all of our sim process prints look better and better. So that's kind of why I'm nerding out on it more now than I was before. It's just because we're doing more and more and more of that. And I want to make sure that the screens are good. I don't want in the art department to be like, oh, this is going to look flawless, because Brian's got it so down to where like he literally has like a button he hits when it does like the mixing of all the colors to be like, this is what it should look like perfectly from print to this. And then we get jobs that look weird, and then we figure out it's because that one screen was shitty, or it didn't blow out all the way, or something. There's an issue with the screen. So like I want to dial that in to where I don't have those issues with screens. So it's this whole process, this whole spiral.
It's a smart move. You're gonna love it. It's a great machine. They're right in your backyard. They have great support. And you'll think to yourselves, why didn't we do this sooner? Yeah. So it's going to free you up. You're going to have more time, like you said, to help customers. And then it's also you're going to all of a sudden tri-lock like you've never tri-locked before. And the machine's going to pay for itself. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I love it. And you're going to love it.
Does that unit work the same with the tri-lock? Like, do they have like it's set up for it?
So, there's the blocks, right? And so he asks you what kind of tri-lock board you have. I guess there's a few different boards because you want to have the same blocks match up, the same size blocks, and they need to be in the same spot. And so you just put those 3 blocks on the wax machine in the same spot.
I just didn't know if it would matter because, like, I know when we got our iMage, we ended up getting the tri-sync so that we could see if it lit up when we did the corners. I didn't know if they have the tri-lock where there's no LED.
We have one of each. So we've acquired them from just buying out shops around the area. Mm-hmm. So we have one of each. So I guess I got to decide. I'll probably end up using the tri-sync because it's newer and better, I guess.
Well, it just gives you that confirmation that it's locked in because it lights up.
Honestly, ours is the one that lights up, and I don't pay attention to it. I don't know why. No. I mean, it's a feel for me. Like you can just kind of, on a large job, like a 10-color job, I want the same person pulling the screens and locking down every single time because of that touch.
You manhandling it.
Yeah, how hard you're pulling it, or you have that same touch, and so it's always worked out better. Yeah. So I don't. Ours does light up, but I think their battery died in one of them one time or something, and it stopped lighting up, but it didn't really matter. It lights up on the when we image it. It'll light up on your computer, and so the iMage actually lights up on the machine.
It won't let you print it unless it's in.
You can overwrite it, but it won't let you hit
Cheating.
Go, right? Yeah, you can cheat it, but because let's say you have a dirty frame that it's not picking it up. But like when you tri-lock into the wax machine, you know, you can look over your monitor and then it'll light up green if it's touching all 3 locks perfectly. And so the iImage is the same way. In fact, if you hit print, it won't go. You know, you have to, unless if it's not lit up. And so you could, but you
got to give it to Fonzie in order to work.
That's right.
Have you guys come across any roadblocks in like growing your company? Like any significant ones?
I would say not knowing what we're doing and just figuring it out along the way. I guess you can call
I feel like that's everybody's roadblock.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Was there something where I guess you haven't had to get rid of anybody, or you haven't really had to overcome any jumping from shop to shop issues because you're in the same place?
Just streamlining stuff. Like, I know you guys talk about the Printavo and the Google Drive and like your organization on, you know, from getting the order in on the salesperson side all the way out to production, all the way out to being shipped. Like we just have such a hard time managing and like figuring out, you know.
Yeah. I know I definitely, I think roadblock is like a too strong of a term for it. We've never had anything major break or our building catch fire or anything in that, you know, knock on wood.
That's what I meant by roadblock. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's only just learning as we go, like little things like I know personally.
Those are growing pains.
Yes, exactly. You know, personally, I just get like overwhelmed with art or customer service, you know, because that's me. Like, you know, I don't have a customer service team yet. I don't have an art guide to rely on, you know, so like it's a lot for one person to handle, but then he's running the whole back. You know, I'm not touching that. It's a lot for him to handle. So like, you know, roadblock, no. We've had our dryer go down a few times, but it's maybe a day. You know, Are you still like, is that a constant thing for you where you're running into the art issue or keeping up? Yes and no. I'm going to say more yes. Honestly, it comes in waves. I swear. It's like once you think you have a groove and everything's going smooth, you're like, man, I'm kind of kicking ass this week. You know, it's like then I have 4 jobs in a row that I'm like, God damn it. Like I got to really fine tune things, or like, you know, there's just something that will delay me. And it's easy to get stressed on that kind of stuff.
Well, I was going to say we did an episode a couple episodes ago with Graphic Source, and it's like that. You're the kind of shop that like that is perfect for, because if you're the one running the show.
I listened to it. I was like, Jimmy, Google search graphics.
Yeah, he did.
Well, they wouldn't.
They have a person on hand. You can say, you know,
and you do the art that you want to do, and then Joe Schmo,
give them,
you know,
dude. That is exactly what it's just one of those things I haven't dived into yet, you know, and you know, it's tough because right now is busy season, you know, we've been nonstop. So by the time I have like, oh yeah, I got to dive into that.
The last thing you want to do is talk about fucking work.
Yeah. You know, like I just want to like, you know, not deal with that at the moment. I need to like decompress and like, but it is like, once he told me about that, like we've talked about 2 different things. We talked about Printavo having like us potentially getting Printavo and like, to help streamline a little things and have everybody, you know, get some tablets for stations and people can kind of check in on that just so we can keep a better workflow and all eyes are on that. So we know like there's no guessing. It's right there.
I'll tell you right now, if you're going down that road, contact Matt Marcotte. Don't contact Bruce. Don't contact their customer service. Call Matt and talk to Matt.
What Matt?
I can even give
Printavo?
you. Yeah, I can even give you his contact info if you want. Just
I'll have you message me after.
Hit you up with Matt. Matt's going to be the one to talk to. But yeah, figuring that stuff out for sure is super important, regardless of what system you're using. But I would say for the art thing, like we've even talked about it here, like I don't really need it like at all. Like Brian and these guys are totally fine with what we're doing art wise. It's the same thing. Like I said, it's another tool of like, I would like to know that so that if I run into the situation where we do need it, I know. So like, I've even talked to Brian about like, hey, if there's a job coming up that you're just like, I just really don't feel like separating this, or the art sucks, or it's a pain in the ass. I was like, let's just try it. Like, let's send it to them, have them do the whole thing, compare their steps with our steps, and just do it just to know. So that next time this job comes up where it's like, we're fucking slammed, I don't have the time for this. I'm just like, hey, for whatever it was, 30, 60 bucks, whatever it was, send it to them, get it back, and then we don't have to touch it.
That's honestly, that's a good idea. Just like send them something. That we have,
and we even had the discussion of just sending them something that we already did. Like if we did a 12 color sim process print or whatever, and we know it came out good, like let's send them that raw art file before we sept it, and then see what their seps look like versus our seps. That's like if their seps look pretty close to ours, then I'd be like, all right, well, it works. We don't necessarily have to print it, but
do you manually sep all your stuff through Photoshop, or do you use like T-Seps or Sep Studio?
We get asked all the time what sep programs we use, and I forget which one it is because we don't really rely on it. I can't remember if it's Quick Steps or what one it is, but realistically, we do use it, but we only use it to give us the bare bones in the beginning. So like if we have this print, like for example, there's one that he did last week that was, I think he counted it with all the shades and everything it was like 100 colors. And he pulled out everything he needed to pull out. But realistically what it was is there might've been green, but there was like light green, dark green, like different values and shades of that green, to where you would condense all the greens into one or two greens. And then you would have dropouts or halftones or whatever, like 3 layers of halftones, whatever it ended up being. But he used that program to pull out the initial 100 colors.
Yeah.
And then from there, he just takes those 100 color layer files and goes into Photoshop and does everything manually.
Yeah. I don't think there's a program there that would actually sep something for you.
Well, there's some shops that just go to like Sep Studio or whatever and like sept it and then print it. It's
we use Sep Studio. That's what I use for sim process. But like, I don't think there's ever been a job where I'm like, add it in, change the color garment, make sure the textile's correct, and then be like, perfect. Like,
well, the truth of it is
like,
it's like,
I have to edit everything.
It's an art form where it's like, okay, and that's what the best thing I've got going for me is that Brian's also like a really skilled printer. Yeah. So like he can look at the artwork and be like, well, I know I'm gonna have to flash between this. I know this color is not going to be as opaque as this one, or I'm going to have to add soft hand to this to get it to look like this. Sure. It's all these things of just like, I know the print order, I know how this should print. And again, he's like a nerd when it comes to like having his shortcuts or having his swatches to know like, this is what it looks on my screen versus what it looks like in actual print. Let's try to match the two up to where when I do the seps, I can look at my screen and be like, this is what it's going to come out like. You know what I mean? A lot of times you can do the seps and you're like, well, this is what it looks like on my computer, but I know in real life when we print it, it's going to look like this. And it's like, that doesn't really help you. You know what I mean? Like you need it to look like it should. So it's more like
accurate. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying that's the artistic. That's what separates shops really is like, can you do this or can't you do this? Yep. So yeah, I couldn't tell you what program we use. I can't remember, but to us, it's not super important. It's just a tool to be like, help me get all the initial colors out.
Yeah, sure. Yep. And, in the beginning, when we first got it, it was a whole new thing for me with a lot of simulated process. Like I did deal with it, but not nearly as much as I do now. I feel I'm pretty good at opening Sep Studio. And I mean, I know how to add and erase colors and tweak things and all that kind of stuff where we haven't had any major issues where like, this is just terrible. Like doesn't look anything like it, but I know I have a lot to learn when it comes to like, actually bringing it in Photoshop and tweaking the channels and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So
it just takes time. Like you have to do it. It's the same thing with anything. Like I said, is you can't be like, well, I can't do that print because I can't do those steps. I feel like you have to start somewhere. You have to just start doing it.
Even if that's exactly how I started learning it. Is I just was kind of forced into it. Like you just once you dip your toes, like, oh shit, I'm neck deep now. Like I know how to do it. Like I'm figuring it out. And
you're not going to do it perfectly the first time. And so you tweak it along the way. And that's how you get really good.
It took us years Like,
it takes a while.
you know, every job you would get that was a certain way. Sometimes first time, oh, this looks awesome. And then you would figure out things too of like, okay, first couple prints look good, but near the end of the job, we had so much dot gain that it didn't look good, or, you know, all this other stuff. And then you figure out of like, okay, this is what we need to do, or we need higher mesh screens, or we need, you know, less of this or more of this. And it's like less passes and less, you know, all this other stuff.
We did a job like right when we started. That was a simulated process. And it was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years later, our customer ended up doing a rerun of it. And I was like, let me redo this. Like, we're going to make this better. And it looked way better.
Like holding up the original sample to the one we had pulled off press that day. It was fucking night and day.
You know, and it's just all whatever you learn.
Whatever you learned and the difference. Yeah. No, we've definitely had that too. But then you were also like, do I want to do it better? Because they were happy with the first one. And if I do it better this time, they're going to be like, well, what trash did you give me the first time?
No, you got to do it better.
Yeah, you got to do it better.
You know, you got to tell them.
And that customer was like a friend, so it wasn't a big deal. Like,
and he's also a printer too.
Yeah.
So like he was like, oh, sweet, it looks better than last time.
Yeah.
You know?
That's good.
So we are hiring in a couple of spots. On about a week ago, I put an ad. I did a Facebook job posting, and I boosted it. I think I put like, I want to say $200 on it or something.
Cool.
And I got 102 applications. Went through every single one. Sent out 16 invites, and got 4 people respond back.
Are you going to tell the whole story of what you told me on the phone the other day?
No, because I don't remember what I told you.
You told me the response that you got from somebody. The email response.
Oh yeah. So I sent out. So I sent out an invite that said something like, I know, received your application, and I want to set up a time to meet. What's your schedule look like the rest of the week? And
you should respond with like a whole sentence, or like at least a complete sentence.
Yeah, they responded back and they said free.
Great.
So you hired them, right?
So they start tomorrow on Monday.
No, I don't know. I think that we had a couple of interviews. I have one person doing a trial day tomorrow. I have another interview tomorrow. And you know, we need people so badly, but I'm pretty excited about it. We're stoked to at least get responses, you know, so it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
My question to you was going to be, if you could have one person right now, a new hire, where do they go? Like what role?
I know my answer. Do you?
They're going to be different answers.
I'm gonna say either art guy or sales guy. But I don't trust art guys that I don't know, that I can't see what they've done, and I don't trust salespeople.
I feel like this is a different. You both need to answer differently because you're different departments.
So I would say an art guy, because it would relieve my life to so much, and I could focus a little bit more. I mean, I don't want to get rid of doing art by any means, but having the extra help and having somebody who is reliable in knowing what they're doing, so I can take the extra time with other things, because I'm spread thin here.
I think you need I think before you hire a human, you should have a conversation with Nick Wood.
What is that?
That's
Graphics.
That's Graph. Yeah, that's
Graphics.
True. I think you should.
Yeah, he has been talking to me about this, so that is going to happen. Like, that was just pretty recently we really started talking about it, and like, again, with being so busy, it's been tough to like get that extra time to, you know, have some free time to really dive into that. But that actually will be happening for sure.
Regardless if you use them or not, have the conversation with them and figure out why or why not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jimmy,
absolutely.
Are you the one that, like, do you do the invoicing? So you're the person that does that too? Or?
So we thankfully, no, not anymore. I have somebody who does all of my invoices. Like, I write all my own orders, all of the orders essentially, but they do get passed along to actually get put in the computer. So I'm weird. I handwrite everything. Like I literally.
We do too. We got work orders here too.
Here's my work order.
Mm.
And I handwrite everything out. And then once everything's approved and I have my totals on there, I give it to Barb, my lovely Barb. And she invoices everything. And
everybody needs a Barb. That's for sure.
What is happening in the background right now?
I think that's a toy. That's a dog.
That's just Hank making noise. He's sad he's not in the mix. He's whining.
He was at the event for a little bit yesterday and had the time of his life.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
So Dylan, you know what time it is?
Chewing on all those shoes.
You know what time it is?
What time is it? I love how
it's time for our listener question.
You decided to use X-Files for the listener question?
I don't know. It's one of your favorite shows. So I was like, hey, he'll be down with that.
I thought you were going to say it's time to get abducted. I was like, it's like, all right, let's do this.
I'm just testing out some new jingles. And,
okay.
I don't know if that felt natural or not. If not,
well, I feel like it jingled some things for me just because, but I don't know if it works for everybody else. All right, hold on. I posted before the show, and I knew right before the show I had a bunch of people ask questions. So I'm going to see where it's at now because I haven't checked it. Oh God, it's a long list. All right. Well, we're going to do a couple.
Very good. All right.
And you guys got to answer too. It's not just us. I love how most of these are just bullshit of like, take your pants off, or like, I ask like, what's a listener question? And it's just like, what's this? And I can't repeat what it is because Andy will make me cut it out. Okay. So Scott says, what would it take to get you and Andy to share a plate of spaghetti like Lady and the Tramp? See, and I educated you on what Lady and the Tramp was earlier. Okay.
It wouldn't take much.
All right. This one's pretty good. So Paul Smirch asks, what's the most unique thing you have done to catch new business?
Honestly, not making our Instagram a business account.
They like, hide your. I swear
they bury you. When we started our Instagram, it was as in a personal account, and then we'd be getting 100+ likes on all of our stuff. But after he had switched it for like a week to a business Instagram, we were getting everything 20 likes, 10 likes, and all this other bullshit because we weren't paying for boost or whatever.
Right.
And I noticed he didn't say anything to me that he switched it. And I was like, why did it go from, so many to 0 now? And it was because we switched it to business. And so we switched it back. But we get so much business through Instagram. That was a big deal to us.
It was. Yeah. We've tried to make it a little bit of a very in sync. If you look at our Instagram, all of our photos are very similar, our layout and everything. And that, I don't know what it is, but it catches people's eyes. So they come to us and they come back to us, which is great.
I know you guys have talked about I know Shirt Kong had, you kind of highlight what's going on in the shop and stuff like that. And
Andy's feelings.
Yeah.
It's Andy's feelings journal.
But I think that's kind of cool. I don't know if it would necessarily work for what we have going on here, but I think it's good what you got going on.
We had this discussion. I don't know if it was on the show or off the show, but we had this discussion. I told him you just keep doing that. I was like, that's why people come to your page, just because they want to hear your thoughts on the day, what you're having for dinner. You didn't quit yet. You're still doing it. I think we had the discussion about hiring a social media person or whatever. And I told Andy he can't. I was like, you cannot do that because it's going to get rid of your flavor. And that's why people go to that page.
And the same can be said for you, and the same could be said for you guys. I think your Instagram is smart because you post pictures of shirts, right? And the shirts it's mainly that. And the shirts are of band merch, and bands see that and they're like, hey, those look great. I want those guys to do my stuff, and so
absolutely.
It's smart. You know, it works. I never knew, I knew that Instagram has changed over time. We've been doing Instagram for years and years. And I know that every year it seems to get worse as far as engagement and the reach. I mean, you can look at the analytics and you can see the reach, and it's not the same as it was. They want you to spend money. You know, they want you to promote every post, and we're not going to do that. So, I mean, I think your Instagram's smart. Whatever work, you know, there's all kinds of different approaches. And
there's no right way.
Yeah. And like we've said before, it's sort of like these days it's your portfolio in a sense of stuff. And we post shirts sometimes too. Other times we post pictures of our shop and pictures of things and caption it a certain way. Well, you know, it works for us.
I think another answer is like weird things to promote us, and is like right before COVID hit, it was February. Some friends' bands, you know, a big show got canceled in Detroit. We're like, hey, let's bring it here. Let's just do it in our shipping and receiving area. And it worked. The day of show, announced it, you know, 80 kids showed up, and it was great. So now in 2 weeks, on the 14th, we have another show, and we're expecting a much bigger crowd, around 200 to 250 people. But we're just going to have it in our new bay, and we have everything going to be sectioned off so nobody can, you know, actually touch anything. And that like intrigues people, like, oh, it's at the screen printing shop. Like, yeah, let's. And in Detroit, like, we really try to show face, and like, you know, we're at bands shows, we're out there doing stuff. We're a part of them rather than just like, those are the guys who print everything. Like, no, like you could come talk to me at a show, or you could come, you know, we're normal people. Like, we're just, well, you can come talk to me at a show. So I think doing events like that.
We're also hosting a flea market. Yeah,
we're doing a punk flea market in September, you know, and now we have like almost 30 vendors set up, ready to go. And we're still taking people, you know, or just like, we're trying to do things.
We're trying to bring
we enjoy doing.
We're trying to bring people to the shop to see what we're about. Yeah, you know, like, we don't get all the local bands merch, but, you know, like, if, you know, a couple of the bands, you know, come to the shop, like band that I work for, like, well, you know, we get some of these other people who we don't necessarily get their work for. They come and set up, and they're like, oh, you guys are like not just two dudes in a basement. Like,
we get that all the time. Like, oh, this is like a real thing. We're like,
it's like two of my best friends are in the band that I work for, and we print all their merch. They're huge in the 90s. And like, both of them have recently come to the shop, and they walked in and they're like, oh, like this, like, you pay people to work here. Like, you're an actual thing. And it's like, like, I tell you guys this stuff all the time.
But they just still look at it as like us in our basement, you know?
So we're just trying to
wasn't that long ago that we were,
you know, trying to bring people here to show them what we're about, show them what we
show
do.
them how serious it is.
Yeah.
All right. Matt and Relentless says, where are you going for a trade show in 2021 or early 22? And the only reason why I asked this, and we talked about this a couple of times already, is, are you guys going to Atlantic City?
I've never been to a trade show.
Same. Never.
I've always wanted to, but like,
we haven't made that.
Okay. Well, if you haven't, Atlantic City is not the place to go.
I could imagine that, because I've been there.
Yeah, I'd say
it's just in Atlantic City.
Long Beach. You have to go to Long Beach in January.
Okay. I'm going to LA at the end of the month. So I obviously won't
just
be there in January.
Just stay there until
January. That's what Andy would do.
You don't know how much that intrigues me. I would love to do that.
Okay. All right.
Long Beach is definitely if you've never
one.
been. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's only t-shirts, you know, and so.
Oh, okay.
Like there's a Print United that's happening in Orlando that is, I think, about 20% t-shirts and the rest digital. And so it still has a textile part, you know, like it talks about our, there's t-shirt vendors and equipment manufacturers and things like that. But Long Beach is just all t-shirts, and people from all over the world go there. And
we should actually just
a good time.
That's good, because like in January is like our time where
it's slower.
It always, like right after Christmas, you always get that slow.
It's the same. That's why they do it in January.
That's brilliant.
The thing about that show isn't necessarily the show. Like, yeah, the show's nice and you can go see stuff or whatever. But like, it's just bullshitting with other printers for like 3 days.
Yeah, we should do that actually.
Yeah.
And then we get to go to Long Beach in January.
It's the most fun. Yeah. Well, don't say that either, because I'm from New York and I went a couple years ago and it just fucking downpoured and was gross the whole time. So you're not going to escape. Well, no, I've talked about this, but we went, it rained. LA doesn't normally have rain. So like infrastructure, everything was wet. Everything was just like whatever. The day we left, it was sunny and like, I don't know, it was like sunny and 85, 90 degrees. I flew back to New York, got in New York, and there was 4 foot of snow in the parking lot. And it was like -8 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, rain in LA is better than 4 foot of snow. All right, let me do 1 or 2 more questions. A lot of people are saying do more jokes, Andy. And you cut me off earlier today.
Okay. Well, do you have another one?
Do you guys have any good dad jokes or any joke that's not super not be able to say?
Yeah, no. I love dad jokes. So why did the Scarecrow win an award? He was outstanding in his field. What's another one?
That's good.
That's my go-to. I gotta think of. Oh, did you guys hear about the guy with 10 legs?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude, his pants fit like a glove.
I love jokes. I love jokes when you have to be like, did you hear about that?
Those are my 2.
I don't know any.
He's not funny.
Matt Marcotte said, who's Matt Marcotte?
I think it's Matt Marcotte.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I got another joke in here from Little Lady said, want to hear a joke about pizza? Never mind, it's too cheesy. This one's a good question. And then we'll do one more after this. Have either of your shops ever implemented referral programs to get more customers?
No.
No, I'm not against it by any means.
But at this point, I don't think we're starving for work.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think
we've needed to do that.
Yeah.
I think we discussed this a little while ago with somebody, but I don't remember what the outcome was. But I think we both talked about it would be nice to think about someday and figure out a good way to do it. But neither of us have anything right now.
I think what we concluded was that it would be cool if there was a thank you for somebody that did, like you guys were talking about earlier, there's a certain customer and they gave you a ton of work.
Yes.
And wouldn't it be cool if when that sort of thing happens, that you could just give them a thank you and not just like a card that says thank you, but do something for them. But what happens to us, like what happens to me anyway, is I get too caught up in my day that even sometimes I tell myself like, oh, I need to thank them or I need to do something for them. I get too caught up in my day and then all of a sudden it's a week later, it's a month later and I didn't do anything. So I think it would be really cool though, and I guess it would provide incentive anyway for that person to refer you again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Absolutely.
Well, that's pretty much what we concluded, is that if we can really take care of the really good customers and give them as much praise and everything that we can give them, that they're just going to tell more people about us than they would have beforehand.
What's crazy to me is the customer that has been giving us a ton of business is when I say no, this is we appreciate you guys for doing this. Like, you don't have to do this. They are like, what are you talking about? Like, no, we appreciate you for getting it done. I'm like, well, I get that. But we've definitely, given them better discounts or not charge them for certain little things. And to make it known that we appreciate their business. But then we did a pretty big rush job for them on short notice, and it was a lot of work, and they still went out of their way and bought we're on a podcast. Sorry, somebody just walked in. We're on the podcast. Yeah, we'll have to talk later.
Bring them in.
It's the third part. It's Marcy, the owner of the shop next door and our partner. So,
hey, Marcy.
But she has no headphones, but they say hi. Hi.
Hank.
So where was I at? Oh, so the customer talking about doing things for us, and they like go out of their way, and like they even brought us like a gift card for like an expensive steakhouse, you know, things that are like just like you don't need to do that. They did actually the Michael Jordan stand up behind us at the live printing event yesterday when DJ had just pulled away in the van and like everything was loading up and I was saying bye to them. They came to me and just were like, you know, every year we tell everybody out of all the vendors, there's always an MVP. And I want to let you know that you're the MVP this year. And he gave me a cardboard cutout of Michael Jordan as being the MVP. And I was like, I don't understand you guys. Cause like, you're helping us. Like, I understand we do help you, but like, also it's very like, you know, give and take. Like, I don't know. We appreciate them more than they actually understand it, you know?
Yeah. No, you should just keep doing rad work for them and just keep that relationship going because it seems to be working out really well.
Yeah.
All right. Last question from Tony at Tiny Fish. What's the one business thing you wouldn't do again? Like something you tried and it was like branched out to you and it didn't work and you would never do it again.
That's kind of a hard question. Do you have an answer?
No, I like to.
Is there a niche that you guys tried to get into and you were like, fuck that, I don't want to do that because that sucks?
Not really.
No,
like
we all the niches we tried to get into like were things that we were interested in. So even if we weren't perfect at it at first, we like wanted to make sure we got there.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that was a total burn to us that like, oh, we'll never do that again.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there was, that was just a learning experience. And, you know, you don't ever want to regret a learning experience, you know, you grow from it.
Yeah.
Andy, do you have anything that you tried?
I would read my lease better because I thought I was pretty good at leases, but it turns out I'm not.
So what are you doing for like 30 years?
Yeah, you have a 22-year lease ahead of you.
No, it was the right term. It was just there was a little bit of wording in there that I overlooked. And I mean, the lease was fucking like 50 pages long. I mean, so you have a decision, right? You can turn this lease into over to an attorney and say, hey, review this for me and highlight anything that you think is which stands out, right? That we should negotiate. Or if you've done enough leases like I have, you don't do that because you're going to save a few $1,000. But it ended up, well, that's what it cost me really. It's just a few $1,000 anyway. So it's not that big of a deal, but still just pisses me off because I am a handshake guy and I know that's wrong in the
I'm that
real
exact
world.
person.
Modern world.
I'm absolutely that kind of guy. Yeah.
I am too. And so I'm like, it was understood but things change, you know? And so, and I'm got burned for a few $1,000s so I would read my lease or read a lease better or turn it over to an attorney and have them read it and pay the few $1,000s.
Okay.
That's my,
I think we with our lease, like we kind of moved in. Yeah. And the company who was already here that I worked for 10 years have been here for like 25 years. So like, they're definitely grandfathered into this building and they're the only original tenants here that have been here for that long. Everybody else is fairly new. So like, luckily we're on good terms with the landlord because of that.
Dude, I visited a shop when I was in Tennessee where I went in and talked to the dude, older dude, definitely older dude. And I started talking about the shop and I was like, oh, this is a cool building. He's like, yeah. This is the first one we ever got into in 1986. And he was the same building, same presses. Like, he's like, yeah, this is they had one of the M&Rs, the one that Rich has that he got back and is in the showroom at M&R. They use that press daily.
That's rad.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, it's no problem. Still runs great. And then they're like, oh, here's a Challenger. Like, we bought this at this year, still running. And it's like, oh, that press is like 15 years old, 20 years old. And then they have the dryer. They're like, that's the original dryer. And the funny thing is you look at this stuff and you're like, man, these are old piece of equipment, but still working like perfectly. They use them every single day. And I was like, there's no reason to upgrade. Like it still works.
That's our dryer right now. I mean, it's like a 91. It's what, a Cure Air by.
Yeah. It's the company M&R bought out in like 91 or something.
And, we just had a press installer here on Wednesday putting our new press together. And he was like, that's a great dryer. Like, yeah, you might have to do some work every once in a while, but that's a good dryer.
Right.
I see him all the time. I'm like,
it was like our old Sprint we had. Like it was, probably like 20, 30 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like any part I needed on the thing I could go get at the hardware store.
Yeah.
Like,
that is the plus. Like we like bought a motor for it at Granger. Like, that's 4 miles down the street from us.
The belt that runs the fans and runs everything on the Sprint is a Honda Civic belt you can get at Napa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's
our
what
dryers. Our dryers are relatively new, and I love them, and they're pretty nice. And there's a rule that you can't set your drinks on the dryer. And
smart rule.
Still, the rule is broken, and whenever it's broken, I was like, whose drink is this? I sort of yell a little bit.
And then you drink it in front of them.
I overreact. And
you're like,
and
mine now, and you chug it.
I find the person, and then I always show them, because our dryer, the brains are behind these two doors. And so I always show them, say, come here. And so I'll open up the two doors and show them, and there's like a zillion wires.
You're such a dick.
And I was like, here, look, if that drink spills, just gets knocked over, all this stuff is ruined. It's over. And so I love old dryers. For our older dryer, it still had some wires, but not like this. And dryers are like basically, most of it anyway is just like a box,
Yeah.
It's an insulated metal box that has a fire in the inside.
Yeah.
Or electrical panels.
Can you get?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
the dryers can last forever. So that thing, you never know.
That's the thing about the upgraded dryers, though, is it's like not necessarily the workings that go bad. It's more of just like, how efficient can I make this with updated technology in insulation? So like the difference between our Sprint and the new Sprint 3000 we have is definitely like, it's cold to the touch. Like I can easily put anything on it. Like Andy's bitching about a drink, but I definitely put like my iced teas, if I go out and help, like on the top of the dryer, like where I'm standing, and like it's still cold. Like I'm still drinking it throughout the time that I'm out there printing. If I was to set this on our old dryer, in minutes this would be a hot drink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the difference of like your employees in your shop, right? It would go from iced tea to hot tea. But it's like, that's the reason why you upgrade your dryer, is to get like, if it's not, it's still working, but like to get a new one is like technology and like cooling of the shop. But yeah, those are my questions, Andy. Do you have a sweet jingle for the next part?
No, but I do for quick takes. So I'll save it for that.
Can't wait.
Questions for us?
I was slacking on this aspect of it.
Honestly,
so he's more of the.
I don't think I really have any. I mean, I try to listen. I'm behind on a few episodes, but like,
we get it. They're 3 hours
so
long.
Much. You've answered every single question ever about screen printing, so it's like.
I think to that point. Are we there, Dylan?
I hope we're not there where we have to quit now.
No, I mean,
I don't.
You've answered our questions on the direct to screen and all that kind of stuff, and tri-locks, and like that's our next venture. You've given me a little bit of confirmation on graphics that I at least need to try it, but it's hard to just think of like a great question, because
business questions, movie questions, our favorite colors.
What is your favorite color?
Black. It's not a color.
Color.
Yeah.
The correct answer is green. Nice.
Yeah. PMS 423.
Yeah, I would have to say 186 red is probably my top notch.
Ooh, blood red, nice.
Yeah. No, I mean,
That's all right. You don't have to have any questions. We'll leave you alone. We're not badgering.
Fine. I won't ask it.
If you have one, ask it.
No, I was going to go into like, you said you started printing for bands and everything initially. I was listening to that on the Pirate Press episode, I think is what it was. I've not listened to much. I'm not going to lie. Let's say I have, but very little. But like, do you think
that was a good episode? I love it.
It was a good episode because we do some water base and, here and there, but like listening to
that dude's
he's a maniac for wanting to do all water base, which is awesome. Just, I don't think I have the capacity to handle that.
It's funny. It's funny that you guys mentioned that episode because when I was asking Andy about you guys about doing this episode, he's like, "Yeah, they're a lot like Pirate Press."
Well, in the same realm, he seems. We followed him for a while. He does a lot of cool band merch. And stuff
I think it's the band world merch.
And seeing his prints, they look great. So.
Didn't he have the good strategy to move next door to the band management
to the studio?
He's like in the same building or whatever. Yeah, as the label that he prints.
It's like putting a sandwich board sign right out front of their door. It'll be like, "You a band need shirts? Come next door."
Yeah, that's great. It's a great thing. But the funny is we deal with some labels, but we deal with more direct to bands. So
yeah,
maybe it would help us. Maybe it wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think band merch is what like started you like to really expand your horizons, or like did you have was there any other like types of customers that you were dealing with regularly, or was it like the band? I feel like everybody starts with bands almost. So
I feel like everybody that starts with bands is people that were in bands. And that's like the number one like screen printer way in, is because the truth of it is the reason why that exists is because the dudes that were in bands had to get merch. Like they had to get merch in order to sell them at shows. Like that was how it worked. And then when the band breaks up, they're like, "What skills do I know?" And it's like, they're like, "Oh, I know how to get merch." And then they're like, "Okay, let's figure out how to get it to other people and make money and like whatever." So that I feel like that's how that happens. And that's kind of what happened with me. Like I have a weird side story that kind of worked out, but most of the people I targeted when I started was bands just because I was in one and I knew that I knew how to talk to those people. You know what I mean? Like that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. I didn't know much else. Like I was just a punk kid that was in a band, and that's what I did nights and weekends was hang out with people at shows. So that's kind of where that was my lingo. And then I just kept going with that. But the thing was like I started another company. I started making buttons, and then I eventually got into t-shirts. And then I went into a whole nother world by working at another shop that I won't name, like you guys didn't want to name. And then, but then that's what snowballed it for me, was that I was still dealing with bands, but a lot of their customers were like churches and like big event things or big sporting things. And like that opened my eyes to being like, holy shit, I can talk to people that I can hold a conversation with some like jackass just like me, like some guy who was in a band. I can hold a conversation with them, but I learned I could also have the same caliber conversation with somebody who's like a CEO of a massive company.
Sure. Okay.
So that's kind of like what broke the mold there, was like, if I can do that, then I can hit up anybody.
Sure.
And that opened my world up to be like, oh, well, if I can talk to this company, why can't I talk to this company? Why can't I talk to this company?
And then fully understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's same realm. Is that the same for you, Andy? Like where I guess what did you draw yourself towards first when you were first starting off printing?
The band I was in the school band. I played trombone. And so we
as well.
Hey, all right. Well, there was a lot of merch. You probably don't know this, but there's a lot of trombone merch out there. And so that's how we got started. No, I mean, I was in the first shirt I ever printed was a bootleg shirt for a show. Like I wasn't real. Like I sold them outside of a show and thought, oh, I can make, this would be fun. But that didn't last. And I tried, like a friend of mine that had a comic book store said, hey, will you print me some shirts? And I said, okay. and I ruined them all. And then I took a second swing at it and got it right. So, and then I was like, hey, I want to do this. So this sounded fun. And so that's how I ended up doing it. As far as growing, it's the exact same way that you did, only just not in bands, is just word of mouth, And so we just did a good job, and we did it day after day after day. And I had patience, and eventually, like you said, it snowballs into something bigger, and back then when I first started, I wanted to be like the biggest. And then somewhere along the way, you kind of figure it out where you want to be. And I didn't want to be that anymore. And so I'm pretty happy where we're at now. And I don't want to be any bigger. We do need help,
a little bit bigger.
Yeah. We're like we want to get a little bit bigger. We're not trying to be the biggest.
I'm not trying to have 10 autos and have to worry about all those people and all that maintenance and all that overhead.
With the 3 years that we've been here, I feel like we're on like year 7 or 8 of my plan in my head. So like it's coming a lot quicker, but like I feel like we're adapting well and figuring it out to what the next step is. And once we hit a certain point, I don't think we want to go too crazy.
No.
But as long as our production's at a feasible timeline and we're pumping out a good product, we're happy.
I mean, you've made it 3 years. Most businesses fail within 3 years. You made it this far. In fact, you made it through a pandemic.
Yeah, last year was our best year.
Yeah, it was. All the bands were like, we're not playing shows, but we have online stores. So,
and a bunch of fundraisers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like friends tattoo shops and barber shops and venues. Everybody needed benefit tees, and
definitely stayed.
We didn't have to pay anybody, so it was just me and him. He took all his stuff home, and he was bringing me films every couple days.
Yeah, I just made a little home office in my basement and did all my art and my separations, and I would make film packets and deliver them here, and he would just print everything by himself. And it was just kind of it worked for what we needed.
In Michigan, that was a pretty serious lockdown, that state. I remember.
Yeah, we were like, we couldn't. We're technically, I don't care anymore, but we were working when we weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Because we're partnered with the vinyl graphics shop. She got deemed essential because she did
police,
fire, and EMS vehicles. So she printed us off pieces of paper saying that we just worked for her, and we carried them around in our cars. So like we got pulled over, like, we're essential.
Whatever works, man.
Yeah, it worked, it was very minimal. Like it was, like I said, it's not like our employees were off, but us, we're like, well, let's keep getting what we can with being 100%. As,
we had just bought our second auto, like right before we got shut down. So that thing was just taken apart in pieces.
It just sat for months because we couldn't get it set up. And like, that was kind of a bummer, but we made it. We were fine. We got through it. So,
do you guys have any shop hacks?
There's just one that I can think of that I see my one of my guys who sets up the big multicolored jobs do. For if you don't have Tri-Lock and you're using registration marks to set up your jobs, what he does is he'll print the base color or whatever. Then take clear packing tape and just tape down it and make essentially a dry erase board.
Yeah.
Then line everything up to it, print it, it's off registration. You can just wipe it away, make your tweak, print it again. Oh, it's on, move on to the next color, wipe away, that print.
We used to do that, but it was just taping the registration marks. So we'd print the registration marks on the first one, and then we would take clear tape, packaging tape, and go over the registration marks. And then we would print, and we wouldn't necessarily look at the print. We would just look at the 3 registration marks, 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom. Sure. And then if the registration mark was off, then we would wipe it off the tape, flash it, bring it back, print it again, same thing until you got all 3 lined up. Then you would go to the next color, wipe
That's
them
a
off,
nice hack.
Same thing.
Nobody's said that one before. And I saw it, though, for the first time I saw it was like a few years ago. And it was John McGee from Union Ink. He put it on Instagram, like he kind of showed how he did it, and it was exactly like you described it. Some people use the
like the vinyl carrier,
The mask.
clear mask.
Yeah, the mask.
And they'll just mask the whole thing with that and cut it, and then you just print over that. But
That's
no,
not
it
actually-
works.
That's actually a good idea because we have a good amount of that mask.
Did I just up your shop
You
vac
just-
with
yeah,
my
you-
own thing?
We had like a 76, 77% shop hack, and you just upped it up for us. We're at a 89, 90 now.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Right. Well, quick takes. Tell me how you think this vibe is. Ready?
That's it. It's breaking up.
Yeah.
Can't hear it at all.
Sounds like Rocky like a hurricane.
You like
Is that
blew
what it
out your
was?
speaker. Was it Saved by the Bell? What was that?
That was 90210.
Oh yeah, I would never have known that.
Well, that's a great show, and you need to watch it if you haven't seen it. But yeah, it's time for quick takes.
What's one thing you guys need every morning?
Coffee.
Mountain Dew or Red Bull.
Yeah, I'm a big coffee drinker. I drink it every day and multiple times a day.
You're drinking coffee right now, aren't you?
I am drinking coffee right now. Yeah.
It's a latte.
No, this is just a black coffee with oat milk. And I have another full one in the fridge ready to go because I didn't know how long we'd be going. I was like,
Nice.
let's just deep dive here.
Does
you
that
have,
mess with you
ready?
sleeping?
I was going to ask, is there a
No, I'm
cutoff?
past.
Like,
No, I could drink it. It's 7:30. Yeah, I'll be fine.
This puts me.
I'll be to bed at 10:30 and I'll be snoozing like a baby.
All right.
Yeah.
Andy, next.
best recent read, listen, or watch.
Ooh.
I don't read. I don't watch TV, and I listen to the same 5 records from the past 10 years.
Are you terrified of
that's no
technology?
He's
Okay, so
I'll jump in and me and my wife are pretty big on finding great crime shows. So we just started watching Fargo and I have very much enjoyed it. We have blasted through 3 seasons of it. Also in the comedy world, I Think You Should Leave is the funniest TV show there is. And I think that has been it's been a repeat. I've been rewatching that countless times. I
have that on my queue. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, it's the first watch of like season 2 was a little slow for me. And I'm like, I just find myself like thinking about it and then I go rewatch it. And it's just, it gets better with age. It just like
awesome.
becomes one of the funniest things I've ever.
well, I was just in Fargo on Monday. And so if you're telling me that's a good show, I love the movie, but I've never watched the show.
Season 1 is like based on the movie. And then it changes every season after that. So we've only watched 3 seasons, but it's very good. I would highly recommend it.
Did you watch True Detective on HBO?
Oh yeah. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved
season 1 obviously is the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Season 3 was good. Season 2 was
Yeah, season 2 was the flop of the 3, but season 1,
season 1 was phenomenal.
Yeah, I might have to rewatch. I'm a big TV guy. I like, weird show. I loved like Lost and Breaking
till the end.
Well, no, I'm with it. I wrote it out and I was like, you know what? I'm okay with it. I'm not gonna hate on something I loved so much.
I hate on it because I watched it when it came out, like weekly.
Yeah,
and
I started season 2 once. I missed season 1,
and to just like get the ending that you knew was coming in season 1 was such a kick in the dick.
I mean,
and I was very upset.
I was, yeah. I mean, I think when I watched it initially, I was like, all right. But
the problem is that show was so hyped as being like cinematic, like it was, and it was a great show. So you were expecting the entire time for your mind to be fucking blown at the end.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't.
What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And like season 1, everyone's like, oh, I bet they're in purgatory. And then at the very end, you're like, oh, they were in purgatory the whole time. That's great. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Donald, what do you go by? What do they call you? Is it
DJ?
DJ. So you say you don't read, but I have an article for you that you're going to really love. It's on, and I don't know how, but it's just on flashing and it's like a 30-minute read.
Is that the one you posted on Facebook the other day? Or you liked it on Facebook? I can see you added it to your favorites on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, I did. You saw that? How?
It posts it and says Andy added this article to his favorites.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, so I fucking know what you're doing.
Well, yeah, I saved it because I didn't want to forget it, and that I wanted to read it. I started.
Well, everyone who follows you now knows your secret article.
Well, then there you go. It's a really good read. I'll email it to you. We have your guys' email to
Please
you.
do.
I didn't know you could talk about a flash for 30 minutes. I don't know, but he did. It's really great.
I'll check it out.
That's right up his alley.
It's an article by Mark. I can never say his name right, I don't think, but it's Mark Corduroy. Is that right? Corduroy?
Mark Coudray?
Coudray. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right. That's who it is. That's who it is. All right,
I
next
wasn't even
question.
sure who you were talking about because you were saying it so weird. Let's see. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Oh man.
Don't do as much dumb shit.
Oh.
Besides that, we all want to say
That's all
Yeah.
our first on our list.
I don't know.
That was like the really heavy time of me touring and like I never did anything that I truly regret. So that's good. I was never arrested or anything. So I would never say like, don't do that.
So your advice would be to do something.
Yeah, maybe switch it up. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have got arrested then. No,
I definitely should have been arrested for some shit I did in my 20s.
I mean, I should have. Yeah,
I didn't get arrested, but I definitely should have probably a few times.
I mean, I don't know, man. 20. What a weird time in my life. I don't think I could pinpoint something that I would
be more patient.
For you. Yeah.
Watch some TV maybe.
Maybe turn that tube on once in a while.
I didn't start appreciating Seinfeld until like later on in my life. So I think if I would have started appreciating Seinfeld at the age of 20, my whole life would be completely different.
All right.
Patience is a good one though, because I was impatient too at 20.
I wanted everything all the time right now.
I'm impatient now.
I mean, I feel like at 20, I was probably more patient in that realm because I didn't care about, I was like, I didn't care how I lived. I would live, you know what I mean? I was just like touring, sleeping.
I'm kind of agreeing with you right now. I feel like
now I'm like, no, I'm like,
I feel like I was way more chill.
Yeah.
I was way more chill in 20 than I am now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty chill now, but I'm just saying like then I was just like, I could just sit in one spot and like stare at the wall for like 3 hours. Yeah. And now I'd be like, I got to fucking do something. Like I'm constantly like, I gotta do the next thing all the time.
Yes, absolutely. That is me. I can't sit still anymore.
Yeah. And
if I don't want to work, I'm like, I got to do something. Like I'm banging my wife. Like, what are we doing? Like she gets annoyed with me because I'm like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like, what should we do? Let's go do this. You know?
Right.
I think it's hard. It's hard to shift gears. You know, sometimes you're at work and it's go. And I don't know what your commute is like, but my commute's about 15 minutes. Yeah. So about the same. And I decompress a little bit on the way home. And then all of a sudden, I'm supposed to be chill at home. I mean, I do a pretty good job, better than I used to. That's for sure. But sometimes I'm still in go mode when I get home. And
absolutely. Yeah. I get home and sometimes I'm like able to just chill and put a show on and hang out. But a lot of the times I'm like, yeah, where you want to go? Let's go do something. She's like, I just got off of work too. Like, no.
Yeah.
Okay, Andy, next question.
What would you be doing if you weren't printing shirts?
Job-wise?
Yep.
Or just
career.
I'm a pretty hands-on individual, so I would like to think I'd be, in the trades. I'd probably be like a welder, or maybe I'd just become a full-time touring road dog. I've got a few friends that do that seem pretty happy, so maybe I'd do that.
I feel when I quit my job before we had this and we were just doing part-time basement printing, I'm a big thrifter and a big like antique sale, antiquer and garage sailor and flea marketer and all that. So I love the flip. I love buying something and reselling it for more. It's like I feel like I'm good at it. So like
you'd be on Storage Wars.
I straight up, I've bought in storage units before just to flip. I love that kind. That's like on my weekends, I wake up and I go garage sailing and I go to estate sales and things like that. Like I've probably would have made a career out of that for sure. Because I wish I had more time to do that now. Because I still do it, just on a much lower scale.
It's always fun.
It's good.
No,
It's
I like
a
that
boring
one.
process, but then when you find something, it's the rush of it,
Yeah.
So I'd be there.
What's your guys' favorite thing to cook?
This is a loaded question. Yours is. I don't think I've ever seen you cook anything.
My house I just bought in January has the biggest fucking kitchen in the world, and
have you used the stove?
No.
How about
What do
the
you
microwave?
Dude, this is a topic in itself right now.
I'm a very, very picky individual, so I eat 5 or 6 different things. So
he listens to the same 5 albums. And he only eats the same 5 things, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
This is I don't think I could. There's like you eat mozzarella cheese sticks, French fries, nachos, but it has to be plain cheese, like no added anything, no queso. It's off the table. You eat fucking pizza, yeah, cheese bread, spaghetti.
Just
The
carbs.
The most generic sauce cannot have any spices or anything. Like basically pizza sauce on noodles. But me, I'm a eater. If you can't tell, so me and my wife like to cook. We do a lot of weird stuff. Like my favorite though, I don't know what my favorite is. Probably like we make these like Japanese style bowls, like these bibimbap bowls. That would be a favorite of mine. Yeah, we make some weird stuff though, so it's always changing.
That's
Are
good.
those bowls?
Yeah.
Is it raw?
As in, like, do we make them not like prepackaged or?
I mean, like do you use fish?
No fish. We usually use either beef and make it like with ginger, or a chicken. Sometimes we just do like no meat at all and do like a mushroom gingery with tons of just sauteed carrots.
I'm 100% that guy where it doesn't count as a meal for me unless there's meat involved.
Oh, see, I don't, that doesn't affect me. I was vegan for like 4 years. I'm definitely not anymore. But like eating things that are vegetarian don't bother me. So like
it doesn't bother me. It just doesn't, in my opinion, in my mind, it doesn't count as a meal unless it's like meat potatoes or like meat and a vegetable or like meat on something like a meat sandwich. Like it's not, I can't, I'm like, what is this morsel you're giving me? There's no actual sustenance in here.
Where's the protein?
Right. So
yeah, I get it.
What's your favorite thing to cook? I don't know if we've ever said. What do you like cooking? My favorite thing to cook? Yeah. Probably meatloaf. You got a good recipe? I guess, yeah. I mean, I make a decent meatloaf. I make eggs more than I make anything. Like I make way more like different kinds of eggs or different kinds of like breakfast meals. But like if I was to make like a dinner for somebody, it would probably be like hand done chicken cordon bleus or a meatloaf would probably be
so
like
I'm gonna jump really quick and just tell you one time me and a couple friends thought it'd be awesome to take cake pans, like circle 9-inch cake pans, and make meatloaf, do a layer.
I've done it.
We made a meat cake. We put ketchup, like a
mashed potatoes as the frosting.
Yeah, we made a meat cake. It just like literally.
I've had that as my birthday cake like 5 times.
That's the worst.
Dude, exactly what you just said. Cake pan, meatloaf,
like the ketchup,
and then another meatloaf, and then like mashed potatoes, ketchup.
Yeah.
and then frost the whole thing with mashed potatoes, and then write your name on top with ketchup.
Oh, that's I would eat that as my birthday cake.
I've eaten that.
That's why we made it once, and we're like, that's awesome. And we ate it, and it was delicious, but I never made it again.
I remember Chris's dad, I was at his house once because I lived with him for a while, and his dad, like, I'm guessing doesn't cook very often. And his dad had like venison in the freezer or something, wanted to use it. And he decided to make a meatloaf, but didn't know how to make a meatloaf. And he just took like the ground beef of the venison, which is already super lean to begin with, and just put it in formed it into a loaf and cooked it. Like nothing in it, just straight fucking meat. But it's so lean that it has no grease to it or anything to like make it like soft. And I remember he asked me and Chris to eat it like with him for dinner, and it was just this like hard gray block of fucking like tasteless meat. And I will never forget eating that in my entire life. It just was like, what is this? Like, I don't know. It just seemed like Mars sustenance or something. It was just like, fuck.
That's
All right, Andy, finish her off.
What is for dinner tonight?
I actually don't know.
Well, we know you only have 5 choices, so what is it going to be?
Where are you stopping on the way home?
Probably Taco Bell. It's right around the corner.
Okay.
What do you get at Taco Bell?
Spicy potato tacos, no lettuce, no chipotle, add nacho cheese.
So is it just a shell with potatoes in it?
And cheese, yeah. Let me have my thing.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just asking.
Yesterday, actually, at the event we were printing at, they had like a little food set up, and I was like, "Do you want anything?" He's like, "Well, if they have French fries or something." And I walked over, and it was like all like Polish sausage, hot dogs, but they had mac and cheese, and I was like, "I'm a good friend. I'm gonna get a mac and cheese," and I brought it to him, and he's like, "No, that's not craft dinner." I'm like, no. It's just like, what? All right. But for me,
we were talking to ML,
and he's never had mac and cheese in his life.
He's never had it his entire life.
That's psychotic. It's a great thing.
Dude, there's a bunch of food that he's never had.
Right.
Me and him are one and the same, I feel.
You are. I feel like you should just listen to that last 15 minutes of him talking about food he eats. I
listened to it and I was like, me and him are we're brothers.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But for dinner, I don't know, because I'm here and my wife's at home. So I'll probably go home and she'll probably have something together. And
Isn't that the best is when you get home and food's done and waiting for you?
She's a saint when that happens. Like it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Andy, what do you eat?
I'll eat it.
Leftover quiche?
The quiche is gone. Yeah, I'm with you on the eggs thing. And in fact, if you love making different kinds of egg meals or breakfast or whatever, then quiche is bomb. Like
I love quiche.
Yeah, same. I got a good recipe. I'll share it. I'll give you the quiche recipe. You give me your meat cake. Is that what you call it? Weird
I mean,
concoction.
It wasn't really a recipe. It was just like our normal meatloaf in a cake pan.
Right.
If you have some ketchup, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, it's good talking to you.
Yeah, for real.
Tell you what, if you want to FaceTime, I can walk you through our wax machine anytime. Like anytime you want, I'll go into that room and kind of show you.
Oh, awesome.
How we use it and how much we love it. And if you're on the fence about the decision or whatever, then
if you guys ever just want to FaceTime me, I'll go in a room and we can just talk.
DJ will be in the back talking to Andy. I'll FaceTime you. We'll make it happen.
Out. Right. What happens on FaceTime stays on FaceTime.
Exactly.
I don't think I know how to FaceTime, but I'll figure it out.
It's like a forehead up. Like
it's the grandpa selfie.
One of those where it's just this shot the whole time.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, go enjoy the rest of your night.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you guys. Thank you for having us. Seriously.
If you ever find yourself in Detroit, you're more than
check out
welcome
the
to
shop.
check us out.
Please. We'd love to.
Will do for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
See you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. See ya.